This monocalculation fan is a massive beast weighing thousands of kilos. You pump energy in and the faster it spins. This monocalculation fan is a massive beast weighing thousands of kilos. You pump energy in, and the faster it spins, the more power you have. Average score on the Hunter exam, 1513. The record is 4022, and our guy is about to absolutely destroy it. Today is finally the big Hunter exam day. That record is 4022, and our bow is about to shatter it. It is officially the big Hunter exam day, and everyone is nervous. This changes their lives. The 100-meter dash average is 3.6. Every student is anxious because this can change their life. The 100-meter dash average is 3.6 seconds. He crosses in 1.2. 3,000-meter run record. 3 minutes 17 seconds. He clocks 1:17. Man just lapped the record holder. He clocks 1:17. Man just lapped the record holder. Push-ups and the bench press. All total history. Every physical test on the board is broken. Bro is on that Saitama streak. Students who used to mock him are now glued to the windows like it is a zoo exhibit. Then comes the fan. Here is the thing. For 3 years, every mana test, they are glued to the glass like a zoo exhibit. Now comes the fan. For 3 straight years, every mana test showed the same result. 0. He could not even make the dial move or twitch. He would stand there straining with everything while the entire class just laughed. But now he is focused. Things changed. He places his hand on it. The fin starts spinning slowly making its first turn. Then, in a split second, it jumps, making its first turn. Then in a split second it jumps way up to 1040. Terror. Dense mana starts bleeding out like crazy. The numbers climb to straight nines while people are sent flying. It is dissipating like crazy. The numbers climb to nines while people are sent flying by the force until, boom, the entire mechanism rips off the base and flies across the field like a giant blade. It crashed straight into the headmaster's office. Right inside that office, the headmaster dives under his desk. Beside him sits Midori, the literal strongest hunter on earth. And he is the only one in there laughing. Because the last person to ever get an immeasurable score on this exact test was him. So how does a guy who failed 3 years straight, suddenly match the world's strongest hunter on his own hunter exam? How does a guy who failed 3 years straight suddenly match the world's strongest hunter on his own exam? Before today, Dispo Kanagi Minato. Kanagi Minato was a joke. Rewind to yesterday. The whole class is jumping around celebrating their hunter exam results. Our boy is sitting in the back staring at his phone, watching the same word load on his screen for the hunter exam results. He is sitting in the back staring at his phone watching the same word load on his screen for the 3rd year in a row. Failed. Tears start dripping down his face while everyone around him is 3rd year in a row. Failed. Tears start dripping down his face while everyone around him is screaming with joy. He carries the crest of the chosen ones, a mark on his body that is supposed to scream destiny. To make it worse, his classmates notice him crying and immediately start mocking him. Then comes Hisaki, and a rank hunter, golden boy of the academy, and immediately start mocking him. Then comes Hisaki, and a rank hunter, golden boy of the academy, the dude who killed a dragon in 1/ and gets documentaries made about his life. To Hisaki, our boy is just a wallet. Again in 1/ and gets documentaries made about him. To Hisaki, our boy is a wallet. Spent a full year stealing his lunch money. Again in 1/ and gets documentaries made about him. To Hisaki, our boy is a wallet. Spent a full year stealing his lunch money, beating him up, and milking him dry. And in front of the cameras, Hisaki tells the beating him up in private and milking him dry. And in front of the cameras, Hisaki tells the reporters that he has been helping our boy, beating him up in private and milking him dry. And in front of the cameras, Hisaki tells the reporters that he has been helping our boy, that the protagonist keeps begging him for money and getting in the way of his training. The reporters eat it all up. That the protagonist keeps begging him for money and getting in the way of his training. The reporters eat it up. They praise Hisaki like a saint. Saint. While bro stands there shaking. Saint. While bro stands there shaking, forced to smile and thank his abuser on national TV. Saint. While bro stands there shaking, forced to smile and thank his abuser on national TV. Then Hisaki invites him to the to the founder's mausoleum that night, says he will arrange a retest. Bro shows up and, to the founder's mausoleum that night, says he will arrange a retest. Bro shows up and, of course, it is a setup. Hisaki's whole crew is digging up the mausoleum like grave robbers. Looking for relics, Bro tries to fight. Crew is digging up the mausoleum like grave robbers looking for relics. Bro tries to fight, but gets folded in one punch. And Hisaki does the most cartoon villain move ever. Picks Arbo up, drags him to a cliff. And Hisaki does the most cartoon villain move ever. Picks Arbo up, drags him to a cliff, mocks his dream of being a hunter, asks his name one last time, just to flex that he never even bothered to learn it. A hunter asks his name one last time just to flex that he never even bothered to learn it. Then drops him. Bro plunges into the river, thinking this is genuinely the end of his story. But the moment he hits that glow, he sinks into the river thinking his story is over. But then, light flashes. Faceless figures appear before him. It is the 106 founders. The 106 founders, legendary heroes he has read about since he was a kid. Those faceless legends were sealed in that mausoleum the entire time. By yanking out those relics, Hisaki accidentally cracked the seal wide open. Our hero, suddenly face to face with the original heroes. They notice the Crest of Nothingness on him and reveal the truth. The mark is empty, but it can hold anything. They offer a contract. Pick one founder. Choose one power. Magic, swordsmanship, alchemy, or archery. Pick now. He says no. He is done being a copy of others. He does not want one. He wants them all. The legendary founders go silent. They warn him that no human body can handle that. But then, the Crest of Nothingness opens like a dark void and starts sucking all 106 spirits inside him. It opens like a black hole, dragging all 106 souls inside. He just turned himself into a living hall of legends. He blasts out of that river like a rocket, landing right in front of Hisaki's eyes. He shoots out of the water like a missile, landing right in front of Hisaki and his thugs. He reaches out and grabs a small tree branch, a literal twig. A twig against rank A. Hisaki's rank A swordsman bodyguard charges him immediately, yelling that the kid should feel honored to die by his high-level blade. But the second he passes our bow, blood sprays from his own chest. This elite fighter got wrecked by a wooden stick. The moment he passes, blood sprays everywhere. The bodyguard got cut down by a tree branch he never even saw move. Absolute total destruction. The group's mage starts frantically casting a massive spell. Our bow just fires back with Thunderbolt. High tire magic with zero chant. A blast that shakes the whole ground. Hisaki is stunned. The old stories start rushing back into his head. The blast rocks the ground. Hisaki is terrified as old legends flood his mind. The story of a master who beat 10,000 men with a stick. A wizard who could cast spells without saying a word. The hero who defeated 10,000 soldiers with wood. At silent casting wizard. Our bow just steps up and punches Hisaki. He hits Hisaki's face so hard he goes flying backward, but that impact wakes something much worse up. Those relics Hisaki stole from the sacred mausoleum were not just shiny treasures. They were a seal, and Hisaki just broke it. A tower tier boss monster is loose. They were a seal, and Hisaki just released a tower tier boss. A massive shadow demon crawls out of the bag. It starts climbing out of the bag. Its aura is so heavy that people feel it across the city. It crawls out of the bag with an aura so heavy that everyone in the city feels it. Even S-rank hunters drop to their knees. It climbs out with a weight that makes S-rank hunters across the city drop to their knees. Then, the demon locks onto Hisaki and crushes him with one tentacle. Now it's just him against a monster way past S-rank power. It crushes him instantly. Now our guy faces a monster way beyond S-rank, towered by 106 legendary souls. He's got the founder's spirits inside him, but his body still can't handle their full. He carries those legendary souls, but his physical shell can't handle their absolute peak power just yet. So he bolts and grabs a stray sword, climbing and dodging. Armed with a stray blade, he lets the founders take turns guiding his every move. The 10,000 man slayer's swordsmanship, the great wizard's lightning, the archer's perfect aim. One after another, they flow right through him. The slayer's blade, the wizard's lightning, the archer's aim, they all flow through him. Each swap makes him even stronger. He's stronger now. The duel ends when the swordsman takes over, slicing the demon. completely in half with a legendary one-handed strike. The slash echoes across the whole city. Every single hunter felt that aura. Even Midori himself, the strongest awakened human on Earth. He stops everything to find out who killed that S+ monster before he could arrive. The answer is the world's top hunter drops everything to ask who killed an S+ beast before he got there. The answer: the kid who failed the exam 3 years straight. Next morning, back at the same academy. On the field, Roper limps toward the track. His body's still trashed from carrying 106 souls through that fight, but he's just hurt he's getting another shot. His body is totally wrecked from that soul-heavy boss fight, but they're giving him one last chance at the hunter exam. Again, so he heads back for the exam, but right after the Monofen trashes the office. With the office in ruins, Midori shows up to talk to him. He goes to retake the test, but after that Monofen incident destroys the building, Midori appears. Our boy is stunned. This is literally the strongest hunter alive. Midori lands and speaks to him directly, praising his results, but Kanagi is too stunned to even speak. Then Midori issues a final challenge. All the protagonist has to do is land one hit on the world's top hunter. The MC freezes when he hears just one hit. The MC freezes, hearing that Midori is only 23, yet he became a pro hunter at age 9. His name is already a total legend. He has turned thousands of demons to ash in seconds. No other hunter even dares to challenge him. A decade ago, he cleared the pandemonium alone, and 5 years back, he stopped the Kyushu outbreak. He's on a different level. When Midori explains the challenge, he can barely believe it. Hinoki, however, is stoked and tells Kanagi to hand over control of his body right now. Midori keeps the rules simple. Our hero has 1 minute to land a hit. Win or lose, there's no penalty. Midori will only attack once every 10 seconds to keep things fair. There's zero reason to hold back. The MC can use any skill or weapon he likes, while Midori won't use his own powers. To prove it, Midori summons a massive arsenal of legendary weapons and lets him pick his gear. Seeing all those famous weapons appear at once makes everything feel totally surreal. Kanagi is still processing that he's actually fighting Midori one-on-one. He hesitates for a second, then asks if he can truly use any weapon. Midori casually grabs a sharp sword. With zero effort, he snaps it in half, claiming his body is tougher and sharper than any samurai blade out there in the world. Kanagi barely has any time to react before Hinoki loses it. Furious at Midori's ego, he demands control immediately as his dark power begins to boil over. That is when Kanagi sees that Midori's strength matches that of the legendary founders. Against a monster like that, he stands almost no chance. Midori's raw power is founder level, leaving him almost zero hope. Even so, he knows there is no time to waste standing around and hesitating. By now, every student has gathered around to witness he knows he cannot waste time hesitating. By now, all the students have gathered to watch the fight. Without warning, Midori starts the countdown with a smirk, signaling the test has begun. Kanagi grabs his sword and charges forward. At him, Inoki asks if he is really planning to fight alone, calling it unfair. But Kanagi ignores him and just keeps on going. Borrowing the founder's power would be easier, but he knows he has to rely on his own strength to become a true legend. He swings at Midori, but the guy dodges it with barely any movement. He keeps attacking while Midori stays on his phone, asking which social media apps he uses and joking that this is definitely going viral. The students are speechless. Midori is dodging every single strike without even taking the fight seriously. Still, Kanagi refuses to stop attacking. Then, one student notices something weird about the way he moves. The protagonist raises his blade. The students notice something strange in his movement. He raises his sword, fakes a downward slash, then switches fast into a horizontal strike aimed right at Midori's feet and throat. The move is perfect. Kanagi is shocked at how naturally his body reacts, and he even notices that he is not feeling tired. He wonders if this is just another hidden gift from the founder's power. But Midori suddenly puts a finger against the hero's forehead. He calmly says that 10 seconds are already up. He barely dodges it. He says those 10 seconds are up. Kanagi barely dodges, but the massive shockwave from Midori's strike completely shreds the training field. Seeing the damage, Kanagi knows his head would have been gone if that hit had landed. Midori looks at his hand, feeling confused. He did not feel any killing intent from the kid, so now he wonders if he totally misjudged his own strength. Kanagi starts panicking, knowing he will die if this keeps up. Desperate, he tries to channel the feeling of his most powerful self. As he focuses, a massive aura explodes out of him. He concentrates, and a violent aura bursts out, catching even a powerhouse like Midori off guard. Kanagi charges again, moving with blinding speed. The students scream that even the cameras cannot track their movements anymore. He charges again, moving way faster now. The crowd yells that the cameras cannot even track them. Midori notices the shift and wonders if this power needs a secret trigger. Another 10 seconds pass. Shift. He wonders if this power needs a trigger or if he was hiding it. Another 10 seconds pass, and this time, Midori decides to strike him much more lightly. He lowers his stance, and this time, Midori decides to strike him lightly. He gets his finger ready for another flick, but changes his mind and just taps Kanagi in the chest at the last second. That single tap sends the protagonist flying into a wall. He coughs hard into a wall. He coughs up blood, but he is amazed he is actually fighting the strongest awakened in the world. Kanagi knows that if he had yesterday's body, that hit would have killed him. Instead, it just rattled him. That thought makes him smile because he is finally getting stronger. Even so, MC knows he is still not strong enough to pass. He forces himself forward and rushes Midori again. Then Midori suddenly appears right by his side, and he freezes. By his side he freezes, but Midori apologizes and says he's seen enough. 30 seconds are over. Then he chops the hero in the back of the neck and Kanagi blacks out as he falls. Midori notes he's a genius, but not on that level yet. Others in the end, the hero still can't tap into the power Midori felt earlier. A genius but not on their level. In the end, the MC can't bring out the power Midori felt. Midori calls his secretary to leave. He is clearly let down, but right then he grips his sword again. Instantly Midori feels a fierce aura from behind. He turns and sees raw power pouring off Kanagi's body. Speaking through the hero, Hinoki says the stubborn kid is finally asleep, so now he can take over. He steps up and tells Midori, "I should keep this fight going a bit longer." Pushed out of his body, the hero's spirit panics seeing Hinoki in control. But Midori just smiles, realizing this is the presence he sensed earlier. He wonders if it's another person or a skill. Either way, one thing is clear. Kanagi is a monster now. With Hinoki in control, he attacks and yells at Midori to stop spacing out. Midori instantly sees the difference. The speed and power have all jumped to another level entirely. A blade suddenly slices toward Midori's face, and he barely ducks. Under it, Kanagi swings again, forcing Midori to jump back to put some space between them. Still surprised, Midori watches as the protagonist sets up another strike in a flash. The next slash comes fast, but Midori ducks just in time. The hit slams into the building behind him instead. The students inside panic when they realize how close that actually was. It slams into the building instead. The students panic when they realize how close it was. Midori sees Kanagi's swings are now hard to read. He sees that Kanagi's swings are now hard to read, though he follows the flow. Hinoki laughs and says that's the skill needed to beat an S rank. Midori raises his hand again, planning to put the MC to sleep, and points out only 40 seconds have passed. But he bursts forward with the insane speed swings and shouts that Midori won't touch him. Midori springs back to dodge. Shouting Midori won't touch him, he springs back. He laughs, impressed by Kanagi's skill. The students can barely believe it. Midori is actually being pushed onto the defense. The protagonist calls him boring and tells him to stop holding back. He warns Midori not to look down on him or he'll get wrecked. Tells him to stop holding back. He warns Midori not to look down on him or he'll get beaten. Then he jumps in again. Midori just laughs and agrees. In again without hesitation. Midori just laughs and agrees. With a quick kick, he sends a stone flying toward the weapons behind him. The weapons rise into the air at once and he leaps up, catching Kanagi off guard. The blades rise into the air and he leaps, catching Kanagi off guard, then snatches one from above. The MC lights up, saying Midori is finally getting serious. They crash together in midair, foot against foot, leaving the students staring in total shock. Both grab whatever weapons they can reach and break them apart with raw force. Inside Kanagi's body, the founders, Ochinoki, go all out. They're impressed Midori can keep up. Old man wants to join but another founder snaps at him. The great wizard stays. He stays silent, realizing he's been tracking Hinoki's every move, trying to mimic his style. He watches Hinoki shift his weight, ready to launch a sudden upward strike. But then, the blade in his hand snaps once more. Frustrated by the cheap gear, Hinoki starts to lose it. Meanwhile, Midori is loving this, but he notices the swords are gone and wonders if Kanagi will use guns. Smirking, Midori shouts that only 10 seconds remain, taunting Hinoki about what his next move is. Wondering what to do, Hinoki glances at the building behind him. Then he leaps. He bolts straight for the guy who pushed Kanagi a few minutes ago. He disarms him and takes his blade. Suddenly, Midori closes the gap. After grabbing the weapon, Midori rushes in and throws a heavy punch straight at Hinoki. The impact rocks the building with a massive boom, but Hinoki evades it, appearing right in front of Midori. They clash in midair again. Midori screams about how fun this is, begging to keep the fight going. Down below, the students see the structure is finally starting to crumble. As the fight reaches the roof, Midori's secretary watches the chaos calmly. He stays composed while Midori places a hand on a massive fan, squeezing it until the metal starts to crack. Midori puts his hand on a huge fan, gripping it hard enough to crack it. Then he rips it free and points it at Hinoki. He chucks it with insane force, but Hinoki, holding his one-handed blade ready, slices right through it using his die-style sword technique. The fin shatters into countless tiny pieces. Using his die-style art, the fin shatters into pieces, making Midori scream with pure excitement. Hinoki doesn't hesitate, hurling his sword straight for Midori's throat. To Midori's shock, the blade just shatters against him. Midori raises his pawn and takes aim. He looks at him, saying 60 seconds are up. Then, he crushes Hinoki with a devastating palm strike. Hinoki clicks his tongue, but before he can react, Kanagi suddenly jumps onto his back. He shoves him hard toward the other founder. As Midori's attack is about to land, the hero gently deflects the strike to the side. Safely avoiding it, the hero deflects the blow to the side, evading it completely. Both Hinoki and Midori are stunned, but the force of the block breaks Kanagi's hand. Despite the pain, he stays focused on the target and hammers Midori in the face with his good hand. In that moment, the clash between these two feels infinite. A savage fight over one tiny opening. It's like a high-stakes chess match between equals. Despite the sheer intensity, Hinoki knows the whole thing only lasted a second. Watching with pride, he sees Kanagi has found a way to win. But the hero is frozen when he sees Midori halt his fist inches away. He feels totally crushed, thinking he missed his chance for a real hit. He's stunned when Midori stops his fist at the last second. He feels crushed, thinking he failed to land a real hit, but then Midori smiles. Midori pulls Kanagi's fist the rest of the way to his face and gives him full credit. Without any hesitation, he tells him he passed. A second later, both of them collapse to the ground. He says he passed without hesitation. A second later, they both hit the dirt. The watching students just mutter in confusion, unable to wrap their heads around what just happened. Holding the protagonist's unconscious body, Midori calls for his secretary Rin and says, "It's time to go." Rin appears beside him and asks how it turned out. Midori says the kid passed and admits he finds him pretty interesting. Then he mentions he accidentally broke his arm and asks her to heal it. She agrees right away. The students overhear this and can't believe he actually passed. Then, it finally hits. They realize he actually punched Midori. Cheers explode everywhere, and the nose wakes the protagonist up. As Rin heals him, she tells him not to move. He listens and says thanks. The nose wakes him as Rin heals him. She tells him not to move, and he listens. She also gives him a congrats for passing the test. Still stunned, Kanagi sits up and asks if he really managed to land a hit. She congratulates him on passing. Kanagi sits up, still stunned, asking if he really hit Midori. Before he can process it, Midori suddenly appears right beside him with an amused look. He doesn't drag it out. Midori just says a pass is a pass. He admits he started taking things seriously once the kid kept attacking. He says a pass is a pass. He admits he took it seriously once Kanagi kept attacking. Midori praises him, saying dodging his strongest move was impressive. He tells Kanagi to be proud of what he accomplished today. He settles down and accepts the praise. Then he immediately moves on to the next big thing. He settles down and accepts the praise. Then, he immediately moves on, asking what the plan is now that he actually passed the exam. The question catches Rin off guard, so she looks over at Midori. He seems just as unsure. Later that night, back at home, Kanagi helps his mother clean while she prepares some food. She casually asks him how many guests are coming. Not being really sure, the protagonist says, "'S maybe just one." His mother says, "'S been a huge day. Kanagi passed the hunter exam and even caught Midori's eye. She says she always knew he'd succeed if he just kept working hard." Kanagi quietly takes in her words and really appreciates that. He appreciates her words, but then she starts worrying about someone so famous coming to their home. She jokes that he might even mistake their house for a doghouse. He quickly shuts that down, saying Midori isn't like that at all. After helping out, he finally flops onto his bed, still thinking about everything that went down. His eyes land on the card Midori gave him, and doubt creeps in. He can't stop wondering why Midori seems so casual about everything. He wonders why Midori was so casual. His mind drifts back to when Rin twisted Midori's leg after the fight. He still remembers Midori screaming and Rin snapping at him. Midori told him that winning meant he'd agreed to become one of his comrades. Confused, the protagonist denied ever saying that. That's when Rin tightened her painful grip on Midori's leg. Midori then told Kanagi there were just too many people watching. He suggested coming to his house that night to have a proper talk. He said he'd explain his choices and reveal who their real enemies are. Kanagi keeps wondering who those enemies could actually be. He said he'd explain his choices and reveal who their real enemies are. Kanagi wonders who they could be, since the founders already destroyed the tower and hunters only deal with monsters from the dimensional crack. He wonders if something else is going on, but he soon falls asleep. A sudden shout from Hinoki jolts him wide awake. He sees Hinoki and the founders in his room, confused. He asks why they're here and what's going on. Hinoki just says they were talking and just finished up. Still confused, Kanagi covers himself and nervously asks if they decided who gets his body. Before Hinoki can answer, the doorbell rings. He nervously asks if they've decided who gets his body, but before Hinoki can answer, the doorbell rings. The protagonist apologizes, assuming it is Midori, and tells them they can talk later. He heads for the door, but the sudden darkness around him feels wrong. Then, too, everything feels off. Then, to his horror, he finds his mother collapsed on the floor. Panicking, he calls. He calls out and rushes to her side but stops when he sees someone in the kitchen. The stranger is eating food. He rushes over but stops when he sees a stranger sitting in the kitchen. The man is eating the food she made, praising her cooking while acting like nothing is wrong at all. In a mocking voice, the man says Kanagi should train his mother better. He claims they need higher quality food if they ever want to impress their guests. Kanagi demands to know who this guy is and what he did to his mother. The man does not care. He tells him to watch his mouth and introduces himself as Hayato Nigaru, an S-rank hunter and Midori's comrade. He then orders Kanagi to grab his bags. The protagonist bowls with. He bowls with rage and throws a punch at Heitani right then and there. He throws a punch in a rage, but Heitani dodges easily and appears behind him. He asks if Kanagi is picking a fight, but the boy says nothing at all. He thinks about his mom promising to raise him proudly on her own after his father died. He remembers her old, beat-up shoes and how she insisted he buy new sneakers for himself instead of her. He remembers her congratulating him earlier and promising to make his favorite tonkatsu for dinner. That night, staring Heitani down, the protagonist demands to know exactly what he did to his mother. Watching closely, Hinoki recognizes Heitani as an S-rank hunter from the previous era. Irritated by this cheap Midori knockoff, he decides it is finally time to make a move. After seeing Kanagi fight Midori, the founders finally understand how they need to deal with him from now on. Heitani just laughs and mocks him, saying his angry face looks kind of cute. He lifts his hand to slap ... He laughs and mocks him, saying his angry face is cute. He tries to slap him, but Kanagi doesn't flinch. Even as the hit comes, he stays completely calm. At the last second, Kanagi catches Hayato's. He grabs his wrist and easily flips him. The old founder is shocked. He recognizes that move from those old monster battles. He grabs his wrist and flips him aside. The old founder is stunned, recognizing that move. A second later, Heitani is thrown through the window and into the backyard wall. Still, he lands cleanly and walks forward again. as if absolutely nothing happened. Trying to process it, he wonders if that was Aikido. Thinking back to the match with Midori, he had already noticed his huge sword skills. But there was another strange power too. The protagonist notes that Heitani is much tougher than his ... Tasaki, running out of patience, the protagonist demands an answer. He asks again what Heitani did to his mother. She was still inside, shaking in pain as the poison spread. Heitani laughs and says Kanagi really has no idea what is going on. Then he finally admits it. His mother was in the way, so he poisoned her. Smirking, Heitani adds that if she is lucky, the damage might stay minor. He coldly says he does not understand. That makes Heitani look at him, confused. Kanagi asks why they would hurt the family of a potential teammate. Heitani just laughs at that word. Why hurt the family of a potential teammate? Heitani laughs at the word and suddenly appears behind him to strike. Kanagi can barely dodge. Kanagi barely dodges, but Heitani keeps coming. He says Kanagi was never a comrade, just a puppet forced to obey. Once his family are hostages, he will have no choice. Then, he mockingly calls him naive. He calls him naive before the protagonist can even respond. Heitani stomps down. Crushing his foot, he sneers while slashing him, asking if he was ... right. Kanagi, he asks if he was right. Kanagi leaps back, feeling a sharp, searing burn starting to spread across his cheeks. He touches the wound and realizes the poison is already moving. Grinning, Heitani reveals the poison needles on his fingertips. It is already inside him. He explains his Phantom Boog's poison skill lets him brew dozens of toxins inside his own body. He complains this job is such a drag. If he wanted, he could spread toxic gas for 5 kilometers, but he cannot do that in the middle of the city. He warns Kanagi the poison kills in 1 minute unless he joins them and takes the antidote. Otherwise he is going to die. Kanagi knows how lethal this is. For anyone else, escaping this fate would be impossible. Staring at his hand, he calls out to Valentine, the goddess of medicine, asking if she's there. Inside him, the founders turn toward Valentine. He asks if she is inside. The founders all turn toward a very startled and confused Valentine. Kanagi apologizes for calling so suddenly, asking if she can teach him to cure the poison later. Flustered, she says yes. Annoyed, Heitani throws more poison, demanding to know what nonsense he's muttering to himself. Kanagi dodges, explaining that the Aikido move. He dodges, explaining the Aikido move came from a god inside him. The old man is left totally frozen. Stunned, he realizes the Buddha copied his technique after seeing it just once. Just once. Then he calls upon the 10,000 army slasher, Hanoki. Destruction Shimmer. The blue spear of destruction, Shimmer Kalkis, and the heavenly bow. Margit. He says he memorized every single one of their techniques from the records. Then he tells Heitani that the legendary founders he once admired live inside. He mastered their skills from the records. Now, those legendary founders live inside him, leaving Heitani absolutely stunned and speechless. Instead of backing down, Heitani gets furious, yelling that he is going to make Kanagi suffer. He rushes in, poison needles at the ready. Kanagi jumps away just in time. As he lunges with those needles, Kanagi dodges just in time. Heitani strikes a tree instead, and it instantly withers and dies right before their eyes. He attacks again, shouting that if Kanagi kneels and begs, maybe he will get an antidote. Once the agony takes over, his mind will break, and he will never be normal again. But Kanagi says nothing, simply waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Just as Heitani reaches him, he slides aside, pressing a palm into his chest using Saint Wantak's fist. The heavy blow makes Heitani cough up. Sliding aside, he strikes with Saint Wantak's fist. Heitani coughs up blood, which shocks Wantak inside the bowl. The impact launches Heitani straight into a streetlight. Kanagi follows with a kick using Aileron's feet of light, sending him flying even farther. Aileron is stunned by the force, but Heitani still gets back up fast. In the next instant, he's right in front of Kanagi again. Striking with both hands, Kanagi slips through the attack and snaps some of the needles. Then, he drives the sharp beak corral into Heitani's stomach. Kanagi slits through the attack, snaps the needles, and drives the sharp beak corral into his gut. Then, he slashes him with Rowan's Dragon Claw skill. The skill leaves Rowan shocked inside him. When Heitani grabs him, He uses the flipper of lilac and whips Heitani right through the air. Being tossed around, Heitani cannot understand what is happening. The poison should have wrecked Kanagi's nerves and blurred his mind by now. Yet, he's still fighting full tilt. Tower surges as the protagonist activates the Magus of Truth. Melchia's Silencio. Strength peaks. Then, Kanagi triggers the Magus of Truth, Melchia's Silent Deus, unleashing a massive blast right at Heitani. The blast leaves everyone stunned. Total shock, Hinoki turns to the founders and asks if they saw that. He notes that after wrecking Heitani, Kanagi started copying every single one of their moves, physical and magical alike. He honestly doesn't care if it's just the Crest of Nothingness at work. The founders agree Kanagi is definitely interesting. Hinoki suggests they should train the kid. He's intriguing, and they all agree. Hinoki says if they train him, Kanagi could become the strongest around. Somewhere else, hooded figures are sprinting across rooftops. One shouts to hurry. Namers' guilds are closing in on him, so they have to get there first. Suddenly, Midori drops in behind him, asking if there are really that many of them. The man freezes in terror. Midori calmly remarks that if there were 15, then this guy should be the last. He strikes the guy's forehead, flips him, and slams him down. Then, Midori pings Rin via Raven's call. She picks up instantly, confirming she's on site and there are 0 awakeners in the immediate area. But then she drops a bomb. Someone else already appeared. Midori stays silent, waiting for the full story. Rin explains it was Heitani, that S-rank poison user. He came for Kanagi and got absolutely wrecked. Midori glances over at the roof where Heitani is currently sprawled, out cold, mouth hanging open. He wonders what actually went down. A bit later, they reach the house. Midori is all smiles, admitting he never expected Kanagi to take down an S-rank hunter. Then he quickly checks if the poison did any damage. Kanagi rubs his cheek, giving a shy, kind of awkward reply. He and his mom are both fine. Kanagi crosses his arms, reminding him he wouldn't have survived the night without Valentine. Hearing her name, Valentine groans. She sounds exhausted, but Hinaki gives her props anyway. Solving everything in 5 seconds is wild. Valentine just shrugs. It was easy with the poisoner right there to provide the blood samples for an antidote. Midori sighs, apologizes for being late, and explains he's already set up security. Plenty of groups are targeting him now, all thanks to that video that went viral today. Still processing everything, Kanagi asks the big question. Was Heitani lying about being Midori's ally? Midori nods immediately. Apparently, tons of people use his name just to get what they want. With that settled, he turns to Rin. Right on cue, she appears and confirms that all the damage is fixed. Kanagi stares at his restored house, shocked to see the windows and walls back to normal. Grinning, Midori suggests they head inside to talk about his future. Kanagi stands there, caught between excitement and tear-worrying. The next morning, his mom sees him off as a car idles outside. She asks if he's forgotten anything, but Kanagi tells her he's go and she worries way too much. She can't believe the bow she raised is actually heading to Midori's place. Still, Midori already promised her that he'll protect him and make him a top-tier hunter. That promise fills Kanagi with hype, though his mom still looks uneasy. Hiding her nerves, she hands him a lunch since he skipped breakfast. He's not really hungry, but he takes it to make her happy. Then she asks Midori directly if her son is in danger. Midori says yes, without hesitating. Midori agrees to help her son instantly. The mother admits Kanagi has struggled his whole life, so trusting a stranger with him is a huge step. Even so, as his mother, she can't stop worrying. Giving him up is a major step, but Midori promises to train Kanagi until he is unstoppable. Hearing that, his mother finally agrees to let him go. She finally decides to trust him with her only son. Midori promises to train the MC until he has no weaknesses left. Hearing that, she finally agrees to let him go. Once they're in the car, Rin asks if Midori should have made such a big promise. Lies ahead, Midori looks in the mirror and sees Kanagi's mom still shouting out her last bit of advice. She's yelling about doing laundry and reminding him to stay warm so he doesn't get sick. Seeing all that motherly worrying, Midori quietly hardens his resolve. He vows to do his best while the protagonist hides his feelings and says a final goodbye. Midori quietly doubles down on his resolve. Meanwhile, our protagonist struggles to keep his cool as he says one final goodbye before the journey starts. Right before he hops into the car, his mother tells him to come home for New Year's. They finally start to drive away. Midori asks Kanagi if he's doing okay. Midori checks if Kanagi is okay. The MC admits he was holding his feelings back pretty hard. Midori leans back, telling him to just relax, eat something, or grab a bit of rest. The protagonist looks over and notices a lunchbox his mom packed right next to him. He opens one, still replaying her words in his head. He slowly lifts the lid. He finds the lunches his mom packed. Opening one, he's still thinking about her advice. But then he lifts the lid and freezes. His eyes land on a tiny good luck note tucked right on top of the fry cutlet. That tiny message hits him much harder than he ever expected. There's a tiny good luck note on top of the pork cutlet. That small gesture hits him hard. He starts thinking about everything his mother has sacrificed for him. Feeling grateful and fighting tears, he starts to eat. He thinks about all the things his mother has done. Overwhelmed with gratitude and close to tears, he begins his meal. Ring and Midori share a look but say nothing. They let him have his moment as the car speeds along. When they stay silent, letting him process everything during the drive. When they finally arrive, Kanagi is stunned by the anti-prophecy headquarters, the FBI entrance. Midori greets him at the FBI headquarters and says only a few chosen awakeners are ever allowed inside. That realization makes everything feel real. The MC is suddenly overwhelmed by the gravity of what he is doing. Inside, a man watches them arrive from the window. Without even turning around, he tells the group the new recruits are here. A man watches them pull up and tells the others the new members are here. A girl with a blank look asks if all this fuss is really for the newbie. A young guy mentions it is rare to get a new ally. The girl asks if this is really about the newcomer. A young man notes they rarely get new allies, but another guy nearby remains skeptical. He says they should see if the rookie is actually worthy of joining anti-prophecy first. Outside, Kanagi stands still for a moment, just trying to process the whole scene. He wonders what this unit actually does and if it's tied to the Ichihara Guild. Noticing his confused look or vision, Rin apologizes for keeping him in the dark. She explains she couldn't say much around his mother because this is a top national secret. That news hits him harder than he ever expected. As they go inside, Midori suggests dropping his bags at the dorm. Rin offers a hand, but Kanagi says he's got it. Suddenly, a voice tells them to wait, making the protagonist jump in surprise. When he turns, he looks up and spots that same guy from before hovering above. The man promises to explain everything soon. Suddenly he dives in with a heavy kick meant for the protagonist. He blocks it, but the impact rattles the earth. Shockwaves surge through his body, but he manages to stay upright. The stranger looks impressed and offers him a brief word of praise. Caught totally off guard, Kanagi asks him who he is. Haneda looks impressed and gives him a quick compliment. Caught off guard, Kanagi asks who he is before the man steps back. He leaps back and lands. He introduces himself as Haneda Hikotaru from the anti-prophecy unit. Before Kanagi can even blink, his new comrade repeats that he is there to clear things up. Midori is completely unfazed by the chaos. He casually asks Rin for tea, watching the fight as she pours him a cup. He watches the scene calmly. Then he asks Haneda what he is actually doing. Haneda explains his two goals: introduce Kanagi to the unit and see what the kid is actually made of. That answer just leaves the protagonist even more confused about what this test really entails. Without saying another word, Hinata launches a lightning-fast kick. As the fight continues, the protagonist blocks another strike with both arms. He holds his ground against the sudden, aggressive power of the test. Even while attacking, Hinata begins explaining the origins of the anti-prophecy unit. Kanagi listens, but he can't believe this guy is lecturing him while trying to take him down. Right in the middle of it, Hinata stops just long enough to ask for his name. He answers right away. His name is Minato. Hinata pauses briefly to ask his name and gets an immediate answer. Meanwhile, Midori keeps his cool, sipping his tea. Midori thinks about how many trials the protagonist has faced, starting with the academy. Then there was Midori himself, followed by an S rank. And now this guy. He turns to Rin and wonders if the protagonist will always be judged this way. Rin calmly responds that it is just how things have to be for someone like him. Kanagi is the talent Midori found himself. Minato keeps kicking, and the kid keeps blocking every strike with his bare hands. During the exchange, Minato asks him what a hunter's job actually is. He answers instantly. A hunter's job is to wipe out the monsters spilling out of those dimensional cracks. Minato flashes a thumbs up and tells him he is exactly right. He compares the job to pest control, then drops low to ask another unexpected question. He asks what dangers lurk outside the cracks, which totally throws Kanagi off. He asks Minato what he means by other types of danger. Haneda's expression hardens. He says there are threats way worse than dimensional cracks. Then brings up a few old nightmares. Events like the Pandemonium 10,000 Demons Castle from 10 years ago, and the massive great outbreak of Kyushu from 5 years back. Kanagi remembers them instantly as some of the worst dimensional disasters ever. Before he can reply, Haneda lunges again with another aggressive, instinctive strike. Instinctively, the protagonist raises his arms to block the blow. Even then, the force sends him sliding back. Hanada commends him for knowing those public tragedies, then mentions he will learn way more once academy training begins. He quickly braces himself, but before he can move, Hanada is already above him. An axe kick comes crashing down toward him. Before he can react, Hanada is suddenly right above him. An axe kick slams down, and the protagonist barely dodges. The foot hits the ground instead, splitting a nearby tree clean in half. He is left completely speechless by that level of power. Hanada stands back up and continues his explanation. He stands up and keeps talking. Those events, including the Tower of Malevolence from 300 years ago, weren't just random disasters, they were actually full-scale invasions from another dimension. Kanagi can't believe his ears. This isn't just some boring history. It's the reality of their world. Hanada steps closer, admitting he is worried. Modern awakeners are way weaker than those from the Tower era. Very few can match the founders. Kanagi asks, what are we even supposed to do? Hanada answers firmly, that is exactly why the anti-prophecy unit exists. People who see these threats coming do not tell the public. They only warn the elite who can actually handle them. And Hanada explains that those elites are the members of the anti-prophecy unit. They only warn the elite who can handle things. Hanada adds that those elites are actually the anti-prophecy unit. Midori and Rin both give him a knowing smile. He realizes their whole job is stopping those prophecies before they even come true. Hanada tells him that starting today, he's officially in. After all, he is the first person to block Hanada's kicks so many times. Hanada welcomes him to the team and holds out his hand. Kanagi shakes it while Midori and Rin watch. Hanada welcomes him and offers his hand. Kanagi shakes it while Midori and Rin clap. Then, Hanada calls out to the other awakeners who suddenly appear on the roof without a single word. He asks what they plan to do, but they just stare back before vanishing, which shocks Kanagi. Midori jokes that they disappear like villains, but Hanada thinks they just want to see for themselves. Hanada tells Midori to leave the rest to him, and Midori heads out. After Midori leaves, Hanada helps him with his bags and offers to show him his dorm. Kanagi thanks him for that help. That night, after settling in, Kanagi keeps thinking about the organization he just joined, one built to handle prophecies. He wonders if the founders faced the same kind of crisis during the Tower era. Is he fighting against something that was already foretold? The thought makes him feel anxious. Suddenly, a voice tells him to stop worrying and just start training. Start. Startled, he turns around and sees Hinoki and the other founders in his room. Kanagi quickly apologizes for not speaking to them sooner, but Hinoki says they have already decided. As founders, they have decided to train him into the strongest awakener. Just like Midori, with their help, he could become the strongest awakener ever as one of their disciples. Kanagi is shocked and asks if they really want him to be their disciple. Hinoki nods and says yes, adding that it is a great idea. Hinoki jokes that this might turn into a battle royale between all the founders. Kanagi quickly asks them not to fight over him. Hinoki explains it started that way, but after watching him, they changed their minds. Instead of using his body for themselves, they became more interested in actually training him. Hinoki mentions that when the protagonist fought against that specific poison user, he copied every single one of their moves. Even if he could not use them at that level, he still picks up the basics incredibly fast. He could not use them perfectly, but he learns the basics so fast. Tenoki asks if Kanagi truly understands just how important that talent really is. She says it might be tied to his Crest of Nothingness. He asks if Kanagi knows how huge this is. It might be his Crest of Nothingness, but his learning speed is what is truly special. Hinoki says that talent might be greater than any gift the founders have. As Hinoki speaks, Kanagi feels tears starting to gather. As Hinoki talks, Kanagi feels tears gathering. He remembers all those disappointed looks from his past trainers, the ones who always said he seemed talentless. Until now, nobody expected anything from him. It almost feels unreal. It feels fake, especially after being treated like garbage and bullied for failing the hunter test 3 times. He remembers his classmates laughing and telling him to just quit. Back then, people barely even remembered his name. He still remembers the kids at school laughing and telling him to give up. Nobody even knew his name, let alone believed in him. He was just used to being invisible. But now, two of the most respected people, two of the most respected figures around, Midori and Hinoki, actually believe in him. He can hardly wrap his head around it. Getting that kind of respect feels totally surreal. Kanagi can't help but wonder if he even deserves to be this happy. For years, he could only admire them from a distance. He never dreamed they would ever have faith in him. After years of watching from afar, he never expected this. Seeing him start to tear up, Hinoki walks over with a warm smile. He rests a hand on his shoulder, telling him to stay cool. Then they drop the truth. Their souls live inside him now. Especially while he sleeps, he can tap into a realm beyond normal time and space. So they set up a training schedule. Every afternoon, he trains with the anti-prophecy squad. And at night, the lessons carry on in his dreams. Easy sleep is officially over. Still, he is ready. He accepts their help without a second thought. He is down to follow their lead. Night passes and morning rolls around. He is ready to follow their lead. Morning arrives. In the bathroom, Hanada is at the sink, busy washing his face. He looks up and notices him walk in. They trade a quick, tired greeting. As he washes his face, they exchange a quick nod. The exhausted look on his face tells a whole story. He admits he hasn't adjusted to the brutal routine yet. Hinata nods, remembering how hard it was when he first moved into the dorms. It is a really tough transition for anyone to handle. But then, Hinata notices something strange. A powerful aura is radiating off him. It immediately grabs his full attention. On instinct, Hinata throws a lightning-fast kick. He casually ducks, spits out his water, and dodges the blow with zero effort. He just walks off, saying he has no energy for this so early. He is heading straight to the cafeteria. Hinata is left stunned. Hinata is totally shocked. His kick was way faster than yesterday, but it was still dodged like it was nothing. A bit later, in the cafeteria, Hanada finds a place to sit. He finds a spot to sit and walks over to a woman eating fruit. He asks if he can join her at the table. She gives a very short yes. Hanoki sits across from her and motions for him to grab a seat next to him. He remembers this woman was introduced yesterday as one of Hanoki's teammates. Still, she acts cold and formal, making it clear she does not want him there. Even so, he greets her and gives her his name. She is incredibly formal and clearly does not want him around. When he introduces himself, she shuts him down instantly. She does not care about his name and won't even bother trying to remember it. Pointing her fork at him, she says she will only learn his name once he actually proves himself. Until then, training is the priority. He is going with her to stop a dangerous prophecy. That prophecy started in 1945. A book was found in Antarctica, buried 3,000 meters deep under the ice. It was called the Book of Doom. The writing looked childish, but the message was terrifying. 80 years later, the world would face a massive attack and a series of disasters. The warning was so serious, the whole world took notice. During the drive, she asks him why people believe the book's predictions. He thinks for a second and glances at her, still not even knowing her name. Before he can even ask, she snaps that names don't matter. He guesses the prophecies are always right, but she shuts that idea down immediately. She mocks him, asking if he's actually that stupid. If just one event from that Book of Doom happens, the world is totally finished. That reality shocks him. As they keep talking, he asks Haneda exactly how many prophecies are actually in there. Haneda says there are about 200 predictions total. He worries we're already doomed, but Midori explains they've already stopped nearly 180 of them, leaving him completely blown away. Still trying to wrap his head around it, he asks why everyone trusts this book so much. The woman explains that the legendary Book of Doom. Why does everyone trust it? She explains the Book of Doom was found by an explorer named Bernard back in the day. Why the trust? She explains it was found by Bernard Russell, and when Bernard first opened the cover, the first page literally said, it said hello Bernard and listed the exact time he found it. March 17, 1945, at 11 a.m. on a sunny day. That was all the proof anyone needed. Hours later, they arrive at Tokyo's Sumida Ward. Hours later, they reach Tokyo's Sumida Ward, where a mid-level dimensional crack has opened. Guards tried to stop them, saying the area is restricted, but they rush past so fast the guards just stare. When he hesitates and asks if this is okay, Hanada says yes. She starts explaining the bigger dangers, like disasters such as World War III, the dark side of the moon, the invasive pandemic, and floating trees are all treated as emergency cases. One of the worst was the pandemonium outbreak, which Midori managed to shut down. While the Book of Doom is famous, it's just one of many grimoires hidden around the globe. The anti-prophecy unit gathers info, studies these predictions, and acts before the world ends. They cover several threat levels. Rank 3 can wipe out regions, Rank 2 is a national crisis, and Rank 1 threatens the entire planet. The truth finally sinks in. Alarmed, he asks if these missions are all on them now. She calmly says that's what joining the unit is all about. Soon after, Kisaragi and his team spot them crossing the line and hurry over. Thinking they're civilians, Kisaragi tells them to go back. She brushes him off, saying this is a Rank 3 case. She explains the crack looks like a normal B rank gate, but it's actually a Rank 3 disaster called Yellow Journal, and it's about to get way worse. Suddenly, the crack starts expanding fast. Kisaragi's eyes go wide. His eyes widen in fear as the rift tears open and monsters start flooding out. He immediately orders his squad to get ready. Kisaragi's eyes widen in fear as monsters flood out. He orders his squad into position, but the monsters crush them instantly, cutting through his men with ease. Panic hits as even the B and C rank hunters fail to hold them back. Then he feels it, the crushing pressure of a boss monster. Seeing the newcomers move in, Kisaragi tries one more time to stop them. She ignores him, puts her hand to the ground, and casts her spell, Trismegistus. Spears burst from the earth. They shoot up and skewer the monsters in an instant. Now Haneda jumps in. Haneda tears across the field at high speed, dropping enemies one after another with nothing but clean and controlled strikes. Kisaragi just stares. He thought his S-rank strength was big time, but these two are on another level. He has no clue who they are. Then the woman tells Kisaragi to fall back to them. He's the civilian here. He sees the mark on her hand and freezes. They aren't random fighters, they're government agents. Before he can even process that, a giant hand bursts out and tears the crack wider. A massive beast steps through Julia Ulner, a monster beyond S rank, exerting crushing pressure. The woman rushes in without hesitation. Kisaragi yells for her to stop, but she doesn't slow down. The two of them attack together. Hanada fires off a string of kicks at the massive beast. He realizes in shock that their attacks do nothing. Its anti-physical armor blocks everything. He's forced to pull back as it lunges at the woman. Their physical armor blocks every hit. He retreats as it lunges at the girl, while she starts charging energy for a counter. But Kanagi suddenly appears between them, catching the blow with his bare hand. The beast man literally explodes from the force of the impact. Everyone is frozen. Total destruction. As the shock clears, Hinata realizes was a penetration strike, but the real surprise is something else entirely. Kanagi just killed an S+ ranked monster in one. A total shock. Kanagi just took out an S+ monster in one hit. Hinata can see his power has jumped like crazy over the last. Overnight, the woman yells that he didn't need that much power. His power spiked overnight. The girl yells that he used way too much force, but he knows the trick. To beat high physical defense, you destroy them from the inside. He learned that from when Talk the Fist. He knows the best way to beat physical defense is destroying it from the inside. He learned that from the Fist Saint, when Talk, who taught him penetration basics last night. After that, Kanagi looks. The master who taught him those penetration attacks just last night. Now, Kanagi looks at the girl. Since he saved her life, She should at least tell him her name. She smiles and says her name is Akane. Since he saved her, she owes him a name. She beams and says Akane. But there's no time for that. Hinata turns back to the battle, boosts his body, and charges the next wave from the rift. Akane follows with her own move, coating the monsters in liquid mercury, before blowing them up with Mercurer's reject. Together, they push. Together, they push forward. They're sure now, just like Kanagi said. Attacking from the inside works much better. Ready to keep going, Akane signals Hinata, and both of them charge straight for the rift. Behind them, Kisaragi watches in disbelief. He knows the world inside that crack is a different realm full of unknown dangers. Going in there is total suicide. But before he can stop them, they jump through the rift without hesitation. Going in there is crazy. But before he can stop them, they jump through the crack without hesitation, leaving him surrounded by dead monsters. One thought hits him: these two must belong to that rumored secret group. Surrounded by dead high-rank monsters, he realizes these two must belong to that rumored secret group. Inside the dimension, a huge swarm of enemies is waiting. Akane raises her hand and notices they're the same kind as the ones outside. Then, she creates a storm of mercury spears, pinning every monster down in an instant. Just like the ones outside, she creates a mercury storm that pins them all down instantly. Kanagi watches her technique, seeing how strong she really is. Now he gets why she's the anti-prophecy unit's best area fighter. After clearing more enemies, Akane faces a giant bear monster. Just as she is about to attack, Hinata jumps in first. The bear swings its claws at him. Hinata avoids the swipe by springing onto the roof. From there, he rains down kicks from every angle. Kanagi watches, impressed by how easily Hinata moves, and lets out a small laugh. Then, he suddenly freezes. He charges the bear, copying that same rapid kick combo. He asks Hinata if he nailed the move. Hinata is stunned, then grins. After bringing the monster down, they keep moving. Akane realizes the deeper they go, the fewer monsters they find. And soon, they arrive at a huge, arena-like space. Then, a crushing presence fills the area, warning them that something big is coming. A giant Minotaur warrior lands right in front of them. It's completely furious. This is the boss, a blind Minotaur with triple S rank power. Hinata and Kanagi are caught off guard by how huge it is. The boss is a blind triple S rank Minotaur. Hinata and Kanagi are stunned by its massive size, but Akane stays totally cool, asking if this thing is actually the boss. Suddenly, endless spears start raining down from the portal. Akane shouts for the others to use their ultimate moves. She says she will end this herself. From the portal, Akane orders everyone to unleash their best attacks, promising she will land the killing blow. Hinata immediately begins charging up her energy for the strike. From the back, Kanagi just watches them both in total shock. Even so, he senses their power might not cut it. It is not enough. Hinata can't believe the protagonist doubts their strongest attack. Despite the storm of magic hitting it, the beast swings its massive weapon. The impact shatters the floor, creating a huge crater and sending shockwaves across the whole arena. Once the dust finally settles, they all just stare in horror. The monster took their best hits without taking a single scratch. As the dust clears, they are stunned. The beasts shrug off their ultimate attacks. They prepare for another round, but as Kanagi gets ready to move, something changes. He hears someone praising Akane for her talent. He recognizes that voice instantly. It is Killick, the spirit of his clan founder. Killick, a legendary alchemist, says Akane has incredible speed, purity, and power. He thinks it would be a total waste for her to die so young. He says Akane did her absolute best. It would be a shame for her to die now. Akane gave it her all, but this Minotaur is way tougher than she realized. Its physical resistance is at 100%. A worried Kanagi asks what he should do, but Killick just laughs it off. He just laughs. Meanwhile, Hinata and Akane continue their desperate struggle against the boss. They realize they should have brought a more powerful magic user. Akane looks at the main character, shocked by the weird energy radiating from him. Kanagi has handed his body over to Killick. Using Kanagi's body, Killick casts Mercurers on the Minotaur's massive legs. The spell completely locks the beast's lower body in place. Akane is left totally speechless. She can't believe he used a skill like hers just to pin the monster to the floor. Killick looks at Akane and calls her a fool. He says she's too stiff and hasn't learned to control matter in all three forms yet, like a real alchemist should. As he speaks, he floods the Minotaur's body with mercury. Soon, the liquid metal starts leaking from its mouth. Then he casts a boiling spell. The mercury heats up instantly, cooking the beast from the inside, while toxic vapor fills the air. The air becomes thick and hard to breathe. Akane watches in awe. Instead of using brute force, Killik used temperature to break the beast. The Minotaur writhes in agony as its entire body burns from the inside out. While finishing the spell, Killik casually tells Kanagi he wants Akane as his student. The protagonist just laughs it off like a joke. Finally, the boiling mercury destroys the Minotaur and it drops dead. Just like that, the level 3 prophecy mission is a total success. Akane just stands there, unable to process what she just witnessed. That technique should only be possible for an awakener living inside a crest. That means the MC is in a league of his own, like Heiko, but he used alchemy at her level 2. Shaken, she demands to know who Kanagi really is. He just gives a smile and holds out his hand to introduce himself. Annoyed, but curious, Akane reluctantly shakes his hand and says she won't forget him. Seeing the protagonist turn Akane's respect makes Hinata break into a smile. Outside, Kisaragi and his men are waiting when the dimensional crack suddenly begins to seal shut. Right before it closes for good, the three of them jump. They make it out just as the crack seals shut. Kanagi asks if the mission is over, and they tell him they just need to report back to headquarters as they discuss their next move. Kisaragi walks over and thanks the group for saving his whole team. He says he won't ask who they are or what went down inside. Akane thanks him and says to mention the emblem in his report. That should satisfy the higher-ups. As the trio leads, Kisaragi promises to help them out if they ever get into trouble. Akane turns back and tells him they probably won't meet again, so he should just live normally. Hearing that, Kisaragi finally understands. To them, he is just a civilian living in a world he cannot read. Fast forward to May 11th in an prefecture. A red streak flashes through the village streets. One guard catches a glimpse, but he has no clue what it was. Suddenly, a massive roar echoes through the entire village. A guard spots it but can't tell what it was. Then a huge roar tears through the village. Back at headquarters, the trio hops out. Akane reminds them to write reports, but Hinata gets a message. They've been called to the lab immediately. Feeling curious about the call, they head straight to the lab. They've been summoned to the laboratory right after the mission. Curious, they head inside. Two people are already there, one on the stage and another person sitting in the stands. Sitting in the stands, he sneers in a cold voice that Akane took way too long to beat a rank 3 disaster. Kanagi recognizes him instantly as the red-haired guy from earlier today. Took a while to beat a rank 3 monster. Kanagi recognizes that red-haired guy immediately. Akane snaps at his attitude since he acts like the boss. Hinata cuts in, asking what director Kurohara wants with them. The man standing on the stage is the director himself. Once everyone settles down, he plays a video from the analysis team. It shows a glowing, red-hot piece of charcoal. The director says it's a prophecy grimoire found in a volcano and studied ever since. Kanagi wonders how anyone could possibly read a book in that awful condition. Studied ever since it was found in a volcano. Kanagi wonders how anyone could read a grimoire in that shape. But the director adjusts his glasses, saying an X-rays pulled data. Most is unclear, but one prophecy specifically mentions Japan. Everyone is speechless. It was readable and specifically mentions Japan. Everyone is stunned, especially Akane, because this is a prophecy they have never encountered before. The director explains that they gather data worldwide, so finding a totally unknown prophecy is incredibly rare. This situation is different. The red-haired guy realizes the truth, that's why they're being sent to investigate. The director confirms it. This mission usually goes to the regulars, but they're busy. Kanagi realizes that's why Midori wasn't there to meet them. The director orders them to move out now, saying the remaining details will be sent via email. The protagonist is shocked they are getting another mission so quickly, so fast, but the red-haired man tells him he'll get used to it. He clenches his fists, feeling a major threat looming. The whole world could be at risk. Kanagi slams the whole world may be at risk this time. Kanagi slams a hand on the table, stands up, and announces he and his subordinates will take the lead. Akane is clearly annoyed seeing him act like the boss. As they head out, the director warns them to stay sharp. They don't know the scale of this yet. If the prophecy triggers, they must wait for backup before doing anything risky. Inside the car, Kanagi can't shake his bad feeling about the mission ahead. From the front, Suo tells them to catch some sleep. Noting the protagonist just finished his first mission, Akane's pride kicks in, and she says he has no right to order her around. To her surprise, Hinata and the MC agree immediately, and they fall asleep almost instantly. Akane tries her hardest to stay awake. Hinata and the MC agree and fall asleep almost instantly. Akane tries hard to stay awake, but the long night finally wears her down until she drifts off too. Later, the car stops. Akane wakes up and notices the vehicle is empty. Panicking, she rushes out and finds the others on a cliff, staring at a weird glow below. The sight leaves her completely speechless. A massive magic circle covers the ground, way bigger than she ever imagined. Hinata instantly understands just how bad this situation is. The prophecy is nearly complete. Massive crystals hold skeletons that are rising right out of the dirt. The sight is terrifying. They might be too late. These skeletons are the 23 villagers from the report. Suo says this feels like a case from years ago. 30 years back, the Wakayama mansion vanished when a dimensional rift nearly opened up. Just then, a giant pillar in the center of the magic circle begins erupting with energy. Seeing it, Suo tells everyone to get moving. The giant pillar in the middle of the magic circle starts bursting with energy. Seeing it, Suo tells them to move. Hinata draws his sword and asks what they're supposed to do. Suo says they have to stop right now. Hinata draws his sword and asks what they are supposed to do. Suo says they have to stop it, but Akane reminds him the director told them to wait for orders. Before they can argue more, a massive aura rises up behind them. They turn around and see Kanagi wrapped in a powerful energy field. Already ready to fight. They turn to see Kanagi wrapped in powerful energy, ready to fight. The group realizes instantly that he feels even stronger than he did before. Susui does not look worried at all. With a grin, he jumps forward and tells the others to keep up. They all race after him, though Akane warns him not to be reckless as they rush toward the magic. At the magic circle, Hinoki and the mage catch a scent they know all too well from many times before. Then the ground starts shaking. Hard, a giant hand suddenly bursts out from under the earth. Hinoki's eyes go wide. He finally recognizes that smell. It is the scent of a forbidden technique. This is the prophecy written in the Book of Scorching. Teat, Hinoki explains that during the EPSI period, an awakener named Bandu Shijima led a massacre. He was later killed by the Onmyo Dark Army. He was killed by Onmyo alchemists, but an entire village was dragged into the disaster along with him. Shigemaru gathered the blood of the dead villagers and used it to make a magic. Shigemaru gathered the blood of the dead villagers to make a magic circle so he could return 1,000 years later. His goal was simple: eat everyone and rule the world as a demon king. Before dying, he left a forbidden method to sacrifice the living for his revival. Now, Shigemaru has returned as a dungeon boss of unknown rank. His purpose is obvious: to complete the scorching heat prophecy. He looks at his hands and frowns. This revival gave him far less power than he expected. He wonders if the ritual lacked enough sacrifices. Looking around, he laughs. After 1,000 years, this place has barely changed. Then he spots the anti-prophecy unit coming and grins wildly, thinking more sacrifices have arrived. Using dark arts, he casts Plate of Yin and triggers a huge blast under the charging squad. Kanagi watches in horror as Hinata and Akane are swallowed by the explosion. But when the dust clears, both of them are fine. He watches in horror as they are swallowed by the explosion, but the dust clears and they are fine. The protagonist's face tightens when he sees another dark circle appear where they land. It is the Dark Art Death Realm. Hundreds of spirits pour out, hands grabbing at Hinata and Akane. They fight to break free. They quickly realize Shijima is far stronger than they thought as he watches his spell work. He suddenly feels someone behind him. Kanagi is going in for a sneak attack. Shijima dodges with ease, weaving past every hit, then mocks the MC for being an amateur before casting Plate of Yin right under him. The ground. He mocks the MC for being an amateur before casting Plate of Yin. The ground explodes, but Shigemaru is stunned when Kanagi comes out unharmed. He fires back with Thunderbolt, had it, but Shigemaru blocks it with his own dark power. Even so, he's impressed the protagonist picked that. Shigemaru blocks it with dark power, but he is impressed the protagonist picked that skill. Then, from the smoke, Suo appears and uses Chrysanthemum, sending a storm of blades at him. Shigemaru is surprised, but he avoids them easily by leaping into the. Suo uses another spell while he is still midair. He is surprised but dodges easily by leaping into the air. While midair, Suo fires another spell, proving he never thought a weak move like that would finish things. Shigemaru slams his weapon down and activates Autumn, calling forth a rain of night. Knives fall, but Shigemaru just smiles, calling it nothing but falling lights. He activates Autumn, raining down nights. Shigemaru smiles, calling them just falling lights before his hand transforms into a massive sword and lunges at Suo. It turns into a sword and he attacks Suo. Suo blocks, but the impact sends him flying back. From that alone, he realizes Shigemaru is easily the strongest. Watching from the sidelines, Kaneki feels like Shigemaru has no limit to his power. He is nothing like the enemies from before. He even feels more powerful than the founders. As Kaneki thinks it over, he hears his teammates shouting from right behind him. He turns to see Akane and Hinata getting blasted by a black art attack. They break free of the attack and charge straight at Shigemaru. Hinata and Akane get blasted by black arts, but they break free and charge Shigemaru. He is still fighting Suo, but effortlessly summons 3 skeleton demons to stop them in their tracks. One appears right in front of Hinata, and he kicks it, but to his shock, it does nothing. A demon blocks Hinata. He kicks it, but it does nothing. These monsters are just as tough as the minotaurs they faced before. Just like before, another skeleton demon steps in front of Kaneki and blocks his path. While they are blocked, Suo and Shigemaru keep trading blows. Shigemaru taunts him, saying his allies will be no help at all. The second he says that, Suo cuts a line straight across Shigemaru. He slashes Shigemaru across the shoulder and tells him he does not need any help. He points his blade at Shigemaru and warns him to back off right now. He says the only thing he trusts is his own raw strength. As blood drips from the, Suo warns him to back off, trusting only his own power. As blood runs from his wound, Shigemaru laughs like a total madman, shouting that he does not need anyone either. He will devour them all. Then he rushes. Shigemaru laughs like a madman, shouting that he needs no one and will devour them all. He rushes Suo, who barely blocks the strike. As Suo strains against the attack, he hears a voice call from behind. He blocks the strike just in time. While Suo struggles, he hears someone call out. It is Kaneki, charging straight at Shigemaru with everything he has got. Shigemaru is shocked, since he sent a demon to stop. It is Kaneki charging. Shigemaru is stunned because he sent a demon to stop him. He glances back and sees the others are still busy battling their own monsters, demons, while his lies split in half. He looks back and sees the others fighting their own demons while his lies split. Before he can react, Kaneki smashes him right in the face with a heavy punch, dragging him across the dirt. Before he can react, Kaneki smashes him with a punch that drags him across the ground. Even Suo is surprised by that hit. After that hit, Kaneki suggests they team up to beat Shigemaru. Suo freezes for a second. Akane had not even finished her fight, but Kaneki is already offering help. Still, his pride takes over and he flatly refuses. He insists he does not need anyone. He is enough. Kaneki cannot believe it. Kaneki cannot believe it. But before they can argue, Shigemaru suddenly closes the distance and unleashes Mogatsu's breath, a powerful beam aimed at both of them. Suo manages to block it, but he gets blasted away by the force. He slams into a tree, his vision fading as he starts to black out. As he loses consciousness, he sees Hinoki and the mage standing before him in spirit form. Hinoki tells him he passed out, so they pulled him into his own mind. Even with pain tearing through his broken body, Kanagi pushes himself up, begging to be sent back. He still has business to finish. Before they can reply, a booming, authoritative voice echoes out, telling him to stay back. Outside, the battle rages. Suo is barely holding his own against Shijima's relentless onslaught. Shijima smirks, impressed that Suo is fighting like him, relying on nothing but his own strength. Grinning with a hunger to consume everything, Shigemaru puts his full weight into a massive, crushing blow. Suo's blade snaps. He's stunned, but reacts in an instant. Shigemaru pours every ounce of power into a strike that shatters Suo's sword. Suo quickly summons a new blade and swings, but Shigemaru bends back with creepy, inhuman flexibility. The more Suo struggles, the more Shigemasa seems to love the thrill. In the spirit realm, Kanagi watches as Hinoki warns that Shijima is way out of his league. The mage adds that Shijima's control is terrifying. If more people lived here, he might have already become a full-blown demon king by now. She warns that if Shigemaru kills the hero, he'll grow unstoppable and bring ruin to the world. Finding that ancient grimoire was nothing but pure luck, if he wins, he'll grow stronger and bring ruin to civilization. Hinoki asks to take over his body to end this personally, but to both of their surprise, Kanagi says no. He apologizes, explaining this isn't just a training exercise anymore. This is for real. He has to overcome this obstacle on his own, just like he'll have to in the future. With iron resolve, he asks if they'll back him up. He has to face this wall alone to prepare for the future. As the mage begins to protest, Hinoki cuts her off. Hinoki laughs it off, telling Kanagi he's already won them over with that attitude. He places a hand firmly on his shoulder. He reminds him of his vow to surpass the founders. Now, he must use everything he's learned and fight on his own terms. That sparks a fire in Kanagi. He turns to the battlefield, asking the founders to keep their eyes on him. Then, he charges back into the fray. He charges back into the heat of battle where Shijima and Su are still trading blows. Su is exhausted. The moment he lets his guard down, Shijima launches a vicious attack. Shigematsu strikes again, sending him flying high into the air with a brutal force. Shijima readies his final, lethal move. He prepares the finishing blow while Su braces for the end. Suddenly, someone catches him midair. Kanagi grabs both the warrior and his fallen sword. He hurls him away, clear of Shigemaru's incoming energy beam. Su hits the ground hard. He grabs him and his sword, throwing him clear of the blast. As Su hits the dirt, Shigematsu turns his focus back to the hero. He unleashes another deadly Magatsu's breath, but he stops cold when Kanagi effortlessly mimics Hinoki's one-handed sword style. With precision, using Hinoki's one-handed style, he slices through the beam and takes Shijima's arm off. Shijima stands there, speechless and confused by what just happened. Trembling with rage, he screams, demanding to know who he is. The protagonist coldly replies that he's the one who's going to surpass every founder. Watching from the spirit realm, the mage asks if he can really win. Hinoki admits he doesn't know. He doesn't know, but he's sure Kanagi isn't just being reckless. Hinoki wonders if he picked up a new trick while napping in the car earlier. A wide smirk forms as he wonders if it's something even he can't grasp. He wonders if the kid learned a trick while napping on the way here. Su watches, stunned by the hero's smooth movements. He'd just refused help, yet that same help just saved his life. Kanagi keeps pressing Shigemaru with a non-stop flurry. Now that he's been saved, Su watches Kanagi press the attack. Shigemaru is forced to teleport back and counter with his dark art, pomegranate. A massive wave of dark energy surges toward the hero. He teleports back and counters with the dark art pomegranate. A massive wave of energy shots rushes at our hero. He tries to dodge, but realizes they are tracking him. No matter where he moves, those blasts just keep following. Then he remembers a powerful skill from a founder. It is aftershock. He stomps. He hits the ground and raises a massive stone wall in front of him, shutting down the attack. Shijima is caught off guard but fires another barrage fast. Kanagi uses the broken rocks to shield himself once again. Seeing an opening, he combines skills and flashes behind the enemy. But Shijima manages to barely avoid the strike. He counters with Plate of Yin and lands a direct blast. The hit connects right on Kanagi. He barely avoids the hit, counters with Plate of Yin, and lands the blast on Kanagi. He takes it but absorbs most of the impact. Using a floating rock as a step, he launches back at Shigemaru, remembering the founder's lesson from before. Since you made a mistake, Shigemaru dodges again, but the protagonist's mix of techniques leaves him visibly shaken. Watching from the sidelines, the founders are stunned by his growth and how fiercely he is attacking right now. But Shigemaru is not done. With a dark stare, he activates his forbidden art. He creates a giant skeleton through fusion. The massive creature towers over everyone, pouring out waves of pure evil energy. Shijima smirks and says it is over. The giant skeleton swings a massive hand at Kanagi. The founders shout for him to run for it, but he does not move. As the hand swings, the founders scream for him to run, but he stays put. He realizes that even at full power, he cannot win. He needs something more. He thinks back to the mages. He remembers Shining Flame, the one-handed sword style, the wave blade, and those different slashes Hinoki taught him. Combining both teachings, Kanagi pours fire into his hand and sword, turning it into a legendary blazing blade. Damage and Hinoki stare. He infuses his sword, turning it into a blazing blade. Damage and Hinoki watch in shock as he does the impossible. Kanagi grips his powered-up sword and readies himself. He just unlocked a move called Blazing Fire-Cutting Blade. Without pausing, he rushes the skeleton and swings. Shijima stares in shock, remembering Hinoki's essence and the mage's magic. He pushes past his limits and wraps the blade in fire. One slash cuts through the skeleton and slices Shijima right in half. Everyone is stunned that he could fuse to magic skills like that. The alchemist founder is totally amazed. He calls the protagonist an irregular, shocked by how easily he swaps and combines skills. He never thought he could fuse techniques so smoothly, and now he suspects there is even more power hidden deep inside him. Then the alchemist suddenly vanishes, leaving Hinoki very confused. The mage agrees they may have badly underestimated Kanagi's potential. For the first time, she wonders if raising someone this powerful is actually a good idea. Hinoki is thrilled and wants to see how far he goes. He drops to the ground exhausted, then freezes when he sees the body parts. Shijima's split body is starting to rebuild itself from the blood. Enraged, Shigemaru growls that one hit to the head would have killed him. Dark power gathers in his hand as he forms a death ball and declares he will finish this himself. Before he can act, Su suddenly appears behind him and slashes his throat. Shijima loses his head before he can even react. As the body falls, Su catches Kanagi, who is already blacking out. He loses his head before reacting. As the body drops, Su catches a blacked-out Kanagi, holding him close as an old memory drifts back. A memory from long ago is Big Brother carrying him just like this. It was a freezing night under a bridge. His brother promised they would find food in the morning, just as he started drifting off. While his brother promised food, and he drifted off. The sound of a massive parade echoed from right above them. People celebrated above while they shivered below with empty stomachs. That memory reminds Su why he chose to be alone. Shimura tried to weaponize that loneliness, but looking at Kanagi now, Su starts to understand something new. He is not actually alone, and even if he were, he knows he could handle it. Right then, the barrier around them starts to give way. It cracks. Atkinson and Hannah rush in at once, panicking the moment they see the hero unconscious on the ground. After checking on him, they realize he is only passed out. Hannah notices the barrier is shattering from the inside and warns everyone they need to move fast. Quickly, she asks what happens if all that energy explodes outward. Siyu grips his sword tight and says they will all be crushed. Their only shot is to hit it with everything they had and push back. He sounds sure, but deep down, he doubts they can do it in this state. Still, there is no other choice. As everyone prepares, the unconscious hero suddenly raises his sword and pours massive energy into it. Siyu stares in total disbelief. Inside the main character's mind, Hinoki has taken over and is moving his body. When the barrier explodes, everyone fires their strongest moves while Hinoki unleashes his one-handed splitting cloud strike. Outside, a red-haired man rushes toward the area with two others. They warn him the barrier is about to break. 1 second later, it bursts. It bursts open. The men think they are too late. Then a bright blue beam shoots from Kanagi's sword into the sky. The red-haired man watches in awe, recognizing a perfect sword technique. He is Makoto, captain of the anti-prophecy unit, and he wonders who pulled it off. Later, on a plane over Peru, Midori talks with Makoto. He is amazed the new recruit stopped that unknown prophecy. Back in Japan, Makoto stays on the call while dealing with a rank 1 prophecy himself. It is a threat he says is far more dangerous than the last one. Makoto explains this prophecy is way more dangerous than the last. Instead of sitting inside the plane, Midori lounges on top of it. He smiles, thinking about how much the anti-prophecy unit has grown, even if he cannot be there in person. That mood shifts fast when Makoto reveals who stopped it, the same guy who joined only 2 days ago. Stunned, Makoto demands to know who the hero really is. Midori answers that he is the one who will end all prophecies. They have waited for him. Makoto is not convinced and asks if that faith is truly deserved. Midori just says to watch the kid himself. Makoto then tells Midori to come back. Midori lets out a small laugh, gives a quick apology, and turns his focus back to the fight. Suddenly, Rin calls out with urgency. They are facing a massive prophecy, the super rank boss of suicidal infection. Its name is Ishtam. As the monster charges in, Midori tells Makoto to hold on a little longer. He raises his hand and unleashes divine wind turbulence. At that same moment, Kanagi jolts awake in a hospital room and bolts upright with a loud shout. A nurse quickly calms him down and tells him that he is finally awake. After his sudden shout, the nurse calms him. He has been out in the anti-prophecy infirmary ever since the mission ended. He realizes that he must have simply blacked out. Ever since the mission ended, he realized he just blacked out. He slept so deeply he never even reached the spatial realm to train with the founders. The nurse assures him he is okay and opens the curtain. Kanagi sees Su nearby with his arms crossed, silently watching. It makes him wonder if Su stayed the whole time. Looking around, the hero notices Atkinson and Hana are missing. Su says they are training because they felt useless in the last battle. Then, Su calmly admits the hero's strength was overwhelming. Hearing praise like that leaves him stunned. But before he can even respond, Su stands up and haughty asks who he really is. In under 2 days, this protagonist took down a rank 3 and even a potential rank 1 boss. He also used a fusion spell that Su had never seen before. So Su pushes him again. Who is he really? And how can he get like him before Kanagi can answer? Makoto walks in. Before Kanagi can answer, Makoto walks in and asks if the protagonist is the one he came for. He says, yes, and Su is stunned that his older brother. If the protagonist is the one he came for, he says yes. Su is stunned his big brother showed up. Makoto walks right past him without a glance. Kanagi nervously asks if he really is Su's big brother, and the instant he says it, Makoto draws his sword and swings it just inches from everyone. Su and the protagonist are both caught off guard, but he dodges. He wonders if this is some kind of test. While Makoto is impressed that a trainee avoided his strike, he dodges, wondering if this is a test. Makoto admits it was a test and Kanagi passed. Then he introduces himself as the squad captain and Su's older brother, named Makoto. That confirms it. Makoto really is Su's brother. After a short pause, Makoto announces that because of the protagonist's performance against the rank 1 disaster, he is joining the squad for a while. He is left speechless. Su was even more shaken. Jealousy hits him hard. Even as Makoto's younger brother, he was never allowed in that squad. Makoto wastes no time and tells him to come for a briefing. He was never allowed into that squad. Makoto wastes no time and tells him to come along for a briefing. Behind them, Su clenches his fists until his knuckles bleed. Elsewhere, Akane and Haneda train harder than ever. Akane attacks with multiple weapons, while Haneda works on defending against them. Even so, both know catching up to Kanagi feels almost impossible. While they keep at it, Midori suddenly walks in and cheerfully says he brought chocolates from Peru. To his surprise, they ignore the treats and rush over, asking how long he will stay in Japan. When he says 1 week, they immediately beg him to train them during that time. They are not going to let Kanagi leave them behind without a fight. Midori did not expect that much determination. They beg him to train them during that time. They are not letting Kanagi leave them behind without a fight. He agrees, then asks about Su and whether he wants in, too. He agrees, then asks about Su and if he wants in, too. Right then, Su arrives and says with total resolve that he will join them as well. Meanwhile, Kanagi hurries after Makoto through the hall. Back in the training room, the group is surprised to see Su that fired up. As well, he tells them the protagonist was personally chosen by his older brother to join the squad for. Now, that shocks Akane and Haneda. They realize just how far the protagonist has come. Getting picked by Makoto is a huge deal, but Su takes it as proof that he is still behind and needs to get stronger. In the hallway, he asks about the meeting. Makoto says it is for their next mission. They leave tomorrow morning. Then Makoto suddenly stops and asks if the protagonist is close with his younger brother. Thinking back to their last fight when Su lent him his sword, Kanagi quickly says yes. Even though Makoto acts cold, he secretly worries about Su and just never shows it. Because of that, Su wrongly thinks his brother hates him and does not care. The truth is, when Makoto visited before, he was not ignoring Su. He just could not bear to look at his injuries. But Su took it as rejection, that pushed him to risk his life and grow stronger just to earn Makoto's attention. Makoto, on the other hand, does not want Su stronger. He just wants him safe. That painful misunderstanding is what drives Su to surpass Kanagi, believing only then will his brother finally notice him someday. He even wants to beat Makoto. The protagonist keeps asking, and Makoto finally admits he really does care about his little brother. He finds that genuinely sweet. Makoto finally admits he really does care about his brother. Back in training, Su explains everything. Akane says it is hard to follow someone who talks about beating his brother while still clearly respecting him. Akane shows respect while sparring with Hinata, but says Suo just wants his brother to notice him. Hinata thinks that is touching, but it does not really make things any easier. Hinata finds it sweet, but Akane's words hit Suo the wrong way and make him snap. During the team meeting, Kaneki learns the squad's 3 main rules: move fast, keep attacking, and always cover your weak points. In the Counter-Force division, Makoto's team is known as the strongest. It stays small, with only 7 elite members. Their job is taking down rank 1 and higher threats as the helicopter carries them to the mission. Jakiro jokes that the captain provides 90% of their strength, so nobody expects much from our new protagonist. But while Jakaru is talking, Kaneki is busy staring at his phone. Jakaru calls him out, and the MC quickly apologizes, saying he needs to message some friends. He is trying to contact the anti-prophecy group because the founders keep bugging him about it. While the others train, his message finally arrives and it totally shocks the founders. The founders keep bugging him while the others train. When his message arrives, it shocks everyone. Suo is especially upset, wondering what Kaneki was even thinking. They take that message straight to Midori immediately. Midori reads the text. The message contains 3 different tips. Midori discovers the message has 3 different pieces of advice, with each one meant for a different person. The tips are so detailed and helpful that even Midori is impressed. Smiling, he holds out his hand and asks if they will accept it. They all see it as a challenge and agree to it. He asks if they will take the advice or ignore it. They all agree, but Suo is still furious. Back in the helicopter, Jikaru tells the MC they have reached the zone. He looks out and sees a frozen mountain region covered in huge crystal spikes. Their target is a rank 1 prophecy called Frozen Earth that is spreading so fast. If nobody stops it, the ice will spread and wipe out all life. Even worse, the same disaster is hitting 17 different countries and major cities. Vice Captain Kashi explains the crisis, warning they cannot waste time since the ice is spreading much faster than they expected. Makoto takes command and orders everyone to jump since the chopper cannot go farther. He warns them about civilian safety. To fire them up, he tells the squad to recite the 3 rules. They shout them together. At the back, Kaneki thinks about the last battle when he relied on Hinoki. He ended up depending on Hinoki yet again. He vows to use this mission to get stronger. As they jump, he promises to clear this prophecy alone. They land at 10 a.m. The cold is brutal, even for an awakener. Jikaru somehow catches a cold and complains that the temperature is way worse than reported. He adds that the area is huge and suggests they make camp halfway through. Makoto considers this but says nothing. Then Kaneki asks Jakaru if Frozen Earth appears in any prophecy books. Jikaru says no. The anti-prophecy unit predicted this using special abilities. It is their first rank 1 find, so Makoto's squad got it. That answers the question, but Kashi notices the MC still looks very uneasy. She tells him being nervous is better than being careless, as long as it does not break him. Jikaru puts a hand on his shoulder, repeating her point and reminding him they are the best. Kashi snaps at Jikaru for being too casual, and he immediately apologizes. A second later, Jikaru raises his hand. His radar picked up enemies at 2 o'clock, 200 meters away. Kashi takes the report and vanishes on the spot. She returns moments later. She reports 30 monsters ahead rank ice gargoyles from the Theistride. Kashi warns they are dangerous, so Makoto immediately orders the squad to prepare. Makoto gives the order to wipe them all out. The squad rushes in with perfect coordination to wipe the enemies out. Kaneki is stunned by how smoothly they move together as a unit. They wipe them out with perfect coordination. Kaneki is stunned by their smooth movement, realizing they are on a completely different level than any normal trainee. Seeing these true elites in action, He asks if he can join. Makoto lets him, dismissing the enemy as nothing more than S rank. Kaneki bursts forward with that and kicks one in the head. To his surprise, the monster explodes and sprays sharp ice shards everywhere. He kicks one in the head and it explodes into sharp ice. Kashi dodges an attack and warns the squad that some unusually dangerous monsters are mixed in. The protagonist answers by using his fire-cutting blade to blast one apart. Jakaru is shocked to see a fury sword skill, and Kashi is very impressed. Meanwhile, Makoto cuts through the remaining enemies with just a few easy swings. He spots the protagonist's flaming sword and realizes that must have caused the blue beam from before. After the battle, the squad camps in the mountains to eat. During the meal, Kashi asks Shakaru what else his radar picked up nearby. Shakaru says there are no boss-level threats within 10 kilometers of them. Kashi relaxes, saying they can stay the night, but then notices Makoto and Kanagi are gone. Elsewhere, he sits by his own fire trying to combine spells. While he focuses, Makoto suddenly appears behind him and teases him for training, nearly scaring him to death. Once he settles down, Makoto sits beside him to ask if this is his first time camping. The protagonist tells him that he is doing just fine. Makoto casually admits he just wants to go back home and have a smoke. The protagonist says he is doing great. But things get weirder when Makoto says he really wants to smoke his cat. The main character completely misunderstands and thinks he is talking about drugs. Drugs? He immediately asks about the cat while Makoto leans in close. He pulls out his phone to show him a picture and asks the cat's name. Makoto says that the cat's name is Oribe. Makoto says his name is Oribe. Looking at the photo, the protagonist notices how fierce the cat seems, but asks if Makoto really misses him. Makoto just says no. Oribe scratches up his things, throws up everywhere, and is basically a little monster. Even so, Makoto admits the cat is cute, just like his little brother Suo. Kanagi finds the comparison pretty weird. He listens as Makoto quietly says he hopes he can talk with Suo like this someday. MC says he can't really relate as an only child, but suggests Makoto should try treating Suo like he treats his cat. Makoto smiles and agrees at that suggestion, then starts showing Kanagi a bunch of videos on his phone of the little monster. He is shocked to see the captain babying the cat like that. Makoto laughs and wonders if acting like that is really okay. He shows Kanagi more videos of him babying the cat, which is a sight he never expected. Then, he gently asks if they can train together. The protagonist honestly doesn't want to. Before he can answer, Kashi finds them and says they need to head back to leave early tomorrow. Makoto agrees right away. While the squad sleeps, a mysterious person heads into the frozen land dressed way too light before the cold. He seems to be on a mission of his own. When someone stops him, he says he is there to fulfill a prophecy. Holding a small book, he calls it an important mission. This lone awakener is heading for the same mountain as Makoto's squad. Back at camp, Kanagi falls asleep and trains with the founders in his dreams. This time, the lesson is archery to sharpen his focus. Under Margaret's instruction, he practices with a heavy bow. Seeing him sweat, she asks if keeping that steady concentration hurts. During the lesson, Hinoki loudly complains that it isn't sword day. The page shuts him down, reminding him yesterday was his turn. Even with all that noise, Margaret is impressed. His concentration is much better than it was at the very start. Kanagi says he is on a mission with an incredible team, which pushes him. Fixing his eyes on the target, he breathes. He lets the arrow fly and nails the bullseye perfectly. Margaret is totally amazed. He drops to the ground in relief. Margaret tells him to remember that feeling ends the session. The moment it's over, Hinoki lights up. He instantly pulls his sword and tells the protagonist to get up for practice. But before they can begin, the main character wakes up to his squad calling him. Before they leave, Makoto says today, they are taking down the boss tied to the prophecy. As they push deeper in, they run into another monster wave, a whole flock of blue birds. As the squad charges in, a flock of blue birds attacks as the squad charges. The founders inside Kanagi say this mission should be easy. It should be easy with such a strong team. But the mage sees an older founder looking uneasy, like something about this fight feels totally off. Wrong. After a brutal clash, the squad wipes out the monsters and clears the path ahead. Makoto sends Jakaru to scout. He reports a major boss 2,000 meters out, and it is coming right for them. Then he adds the worst part: it will reach them in 10 seconds. A massive figure rushes in almost instantly. The unknown god Calamites wears a wild, crazed grin. Her presence is nothing like the monsters they fought earlier. Makoto orders a total assault. The squad moves in perfect sync. Jikaru binds her while Kashi strikes from every angle, but none of it works. Their combo lands perfectly, yet Calamites takes 0 damage. Nothing. Just as she is about to strike back, she senses something dropping from above. It is Kanagi coming down for a hit. A vertical slash. Kanagi comes down with a heavy sword slash. Remembering Hinoki's lesson on the straight vertical cut, he opens with his strongest swing. The hero strikes with his fire-coated blade. He launches a massive blast of flame at the boss. But to his shock, it does nothing. But it does nothing. The boss swings back instantly and slams Kanagi straight into the hard ground. Hearing that crash, Jakiro thinks the hero is dead. But he survives because an ice crystal breaks his fall. Still fighting, Kashi finally understands why this boss is ranked number 1. Number 1. She looks to Makoto now. Everything rests on him as he draws his sword. At the same time, Jikaru grabs Kanagi and pulls him back, saying they will only get in Makoto's way. As the others fall back, the boss swings at Makoto with every ounce of power. The blow sends out a massive shockwave. He fears for Makoto's safety. Then Makoto stops the blade just before it can hit. A huge shockwave erupts, and he fears for Makoto. But Makoto stops the blade before it even touches him. The boss attacks again. And once again, Makoto blocks it with total ease. He answers with one brutal slash and cuts off her arm. Hinoki is absolutely blown away. He sees that move and says he wants to try it. Makoto cuts her arm off. Hinoki is blown away and says he wants to try it too. Kanagi refuses to let Hinoki take over. Facing the injured boss, Makoto says he wanted his team to learn by fighting someone this strong. But now he is ending it. He wanted them to learn from a strong foe, but now it is over. Hearing that, the squad quickly puts up a barrier. Makoto pours red dragon power into his sword. Then he adds more. He unleashes crimson light and fires a giant inferno, blasting away nearly half her body. He fires a giant inferno at the boss, blasting away half her body. Kanagi is stunned. Makoto just used a sword attack like his, only it is way stronger. Without that barrier, the whole team might have burned up. The hero quietly apologizes to the boss, saying his job is to protect the world. Then he suddenly meows, making everyone cringe. Watching closely, the protagonist realizes Makoto's style is nothing like Hinoki's. He is on a whole different level. This guy is insane. Seeing his power, Kanagi is desperate to learn. Makoto follows up with one final slash that splits the boss in two. But then a flash of light tears across the battlefield. In a split second, Makoto's right arm is completely gone. He spins around and sees a massive hole right through Jakaru's chest. Panic sets in as the brutal reality finally hits. One by one, his teammates are getting shredded, dropping dead right in front of him. When Kanagi sees Jakaru fall, he sprints toward him. But Jakaru uses every bit of strength left to push him back. The protagonist stumbles back, forced to watch as his entire squad collapses. Even facing death, Jakaru is absolutely crushed by regret. His radar didn't catch the attack, and that one mistake cost them everything. As he falls, he whispers an apology. His radar failed him, costing the team their lives. Falling to the ground, he apologizes to Makoto, hoping someone caught where that shot came from. Kashi survives, but several others are pierced by that same beam. Clutching his severed arm, Makoto screams for everyone to take cover right now. It's a skill attack. Nobody waits around. They bolt. While retreating, Kashi shouts to a fallen teammate, telling him to get up. But he hesitates, terrified by the state Makoto is in. That beam can't be blocked since it destroys everything it touches. Another beam streaks toward Makoto, but he barely dodges it by jumping. High up, Kashi watches in horror as the boss keeps attacking while her body heals. Knowing they have to end this with one massive strike, she looks at Kanagi and finds him on his knees, completely frozen. Staring at his dead friends, Kanagi desperately asks Valentine if she can revive them. Valentine looks down in shame as she admits she cannot bring back the dead. Valentine looks ashamed as she explains she can't revive the dead. Kanagi goes silent, takes a deep breath, and calls on all the founders. He admits he wanted to do this alone, but he realizes he needs their help now. Suddenly, Inoki steps up immediately. Knowing he needs their power again, Inoki steps in and takes over his body. Meanwhile, Makoto analyzes the strike. Jakaru's radar only covers 3 kilometers, meaning that hidden sniper had to be positioned much farther away than that. Much farther away, that single shot killed Jakaru and took Makoto's arm. This means that hidden enemy is clearly elite, refusing to let his team's sacrifice go to waste. Makoto pushes past his limits, unleashing even more hidden power. Using every ounce of energy, he senses a target over 3 kilometers away. Gripping his sword, he turns his grief into pure fuel. Makoto charges his blade with crimson light, releasing a massive wave of fire that tears through everything. It finally exposes the hidden enemy, the same mysterious bow from earlier. He's impressed Makoto found him, just as expected from the squad. Captain, Makoto is shocked as his attack gets swallowed whole. The bow says that if Makoto still had his left arm, he might be dead. He then summons darkness to form orbs around himself as he walks forward. That strike might have worked with 2 arms. Tabo uses darkness to form orbs around himself. Walking toward Makoto, he fires one TO. Finish him. Makoto counters by raising a massive wall of ice. He fires an orb to end it, but Makoto counters with a thick ice barrier. Then, in a blink, he vanishes and appears right behind the bow, aiming for his neck. But before he can strike, that beam fires again and obliterates part of his torso. The bow remains untouched, calmly stating he saw Makoto's move coming. It happens again, and a blast rips through his torso. The bow is untouched, calmly saying he predicted Makoto's move and that Makoto is near death. That really sets Makoto off. Using what little strength he has left, he rushes in and swings, but the bow just slips away. The bow derives a hard kick straight into Makoto's open wound. He rushes in and swings, but the bow slips aside and kicks his wound. Makoto expected this, using the opening to smash the kid with his sword. He hits him with the back of his sword and sends him crashing. Makoto starts to wonder why the bow stopped. Why did he stop using those beams after a few shots? They're insanely strong, but maybe he just can't keep using them like that. Then Makoto figures it out. That spell can't be fired non-stop. When it comes to stamina, they might finally be even. It's powerful, but maybe he can't keep using it. Then Makoto figures it out. The spell can't be fired non-stop. They might be even on stamina. After the crash, he confirms that guess but reminds Makoto they're not equally injured. Makoto has lost an arm and half his body. Makoto has lost an arm and half his entire body. Even so, Makoto rejects the idea of being at a disadvantage. He remembers the 3 rules of the Makoto squad and finds strength. He remembers the squad rules and finds strength. He refuses to be at a disadvantage. Remembering the 3 rules of the Makoto squad to find strength, resolve fills him as he prepares to fight. He coats himself in electric fire to seal his wounds, wearing the squad's 3rd rule, overcome your weakness. Then he unleashes Scarlet Blaze. The boy realizes Makoto is burning his own life force to get stronger, so he does the same, feeding his darkness spell with his vitality. Makoto calls on the spirits of fallen comrades. He stares his enemy down and warns him not to disrespect his team ever again. Back with Kanagi, he calls on the ancient founders. His hair turns white and Hinoki takes control. Back with Kanagi, he calls on the founders. His hair turns white as Hinoki takes over. The surviving squad members trying to escape are stopped. They are stopped by the boss as she regenerates her arms. Kashi realizes she can't handle this alone and calls out to her friend. She calls to Kanagi, who is still at the rear. To her, it looks like his spirit broke after seeing everyone died, which makes sense for a new guy. But then, the protagonist stands up. He stands up and kicks the boss so hard she goes flying elsewhere. Makoto and the bug keep trading blows while Makoto fights with half a sword. He unleashes Scarlet. Makoto fights with only half a sword, unleashing a scarlet light that the opponent barely avoids by leaning to the side. Even after dodging, he starts to worry. Makoto's flames should have been erased by the darkness, yet they keep coming back and hitting him. On top of that, there is a limit to how much darkness he can control by hand, and he is nearing it. So he fires a swarm of dark orbs at Makoto. Makoto dodges them fast, finds an opening, and slices off the bow's arm. Now the tide of battle has finally turned. Even with one arm, the bow jumps in and slams his knee into Makoto's wounded side. The tide has turned. Makoto falls in pain as the boy says losing an arm is nothing when Makoto still has a hole in his stomach. Then he reveals something worse. He says he expected all of this from the first strike. He knew Makoto would close the distance, even praising him for choosing the best moves. But that, he says, is also Makoto's weakness. He's simply too easy to read. That is why he will lose. It is also Makoto's weakness, he's too easy to read. He'll lose. Then he pulls a book from his bag, claiming defeat was written there from the start. Makoto's eyes widen in pure shock. He pulls out a book claiming Makoto's defeat was written in it from the start. Makoto recognizes it as the Book of Doom. The boy opens it and reveals the truth. If one group exists to stop prophecies, then another exists to make them happen. Another group exists to make them happen. Makoto was stunned. He never knew such a group existed. The boy reveals he's one of the 12 apostles of the apocalypse, the 12th of darkness, chosen to fulfill the prophecy. He's the one chosen for the prophecy. One of the 12 apostles of the apocalypse, the 12th of darkness. Shocked, Makoto asks why he wants to bring ruin to the whole world. The boy smirks and asks if telling him would earn forgiveness. That mockery enrages Makoto, and he swings with everything he has. That mockery enrages Makoto, and he swings with everything he has left. The strike nearly cuts his shoulder. Makoto believes he can still win, seeing the boy low on mana and his body reaching its limit. Pushed to his limit, Makoto unleashes Red Dragon form to end this fight for good. But even with a mangled shoulder, the guy stays standing, claiming Makoto is the one who is finished. He downs a potion, and a blinding flash suddenly erupts. Before Makoto can even react, a massive punch comes flying through the light. The impact slams Makoto straight into the dirt. As the dust settles, he sees something impossible. Every single wound is gone, and his enemy is back at full power. The man laughs, saying that potion is an artifact that fully restored his body. With his enemy back at full power, Makoto refuses to give up. Even with just one arm left, he fires his scarlet light again, sending a massive wave of energy rippling straight toward him. The guy shatters it with dark orbs and counters immediately, leaving Makoto completely stunned and overwhelmed. That artifact is insanely broken. It is usually under national control, so no ordinary group should even have one. Then, the man drives a brutal kick right into Makoto's stomach. The wound drops him to the ground to die. Seeing Makoto finally beaten, the man exhales a relieved breath. In that dark moment, Makoto thinks back to his childhood years. He remembers all the people who fought beside him. As he lies there dying, Makoto thinks of his childhood and those who fought by his side. Even now, he desperately reaches for his sword. He also remembers Kanagi talking about treating his own brother like a pet cat. That thought puts a smile on his blood-stained face. He grabs the sword again, but just as he moves, as he strikes, a beam of darkness hits him and severs the hand holding his weapon. Thinking it is over, the guy says his final goodbye, but before he can finish him off, someone suddenly tears through the crystal behind him. It is Kanagi and all the founders, ready to punish the man who made their disciple cry. Makoto sees Kanagi and feels worried at first, but then, he feels something else coming from him. The enemy notices it too. Kanagi no longer feels like an easy target. He feels dangerous, uneasy. The guy warns him not to move and threatens to kill Makoto. But before he can do a thing, his own arm is sliced off in a flash. He threatened to kill Makoto, but his arm was sliced off in a blink. He is totally stunned and cannot even tell what just happened to him. Kanagi only swung his sword from far away. He cannot even process it. Kanagi swung his sword from a distance, and the force was so intense that it even dulled the blade. The founders are shocked that just one single swing wore the weapon down that much. Then, the alchemist founder steps in and crafts several new weapons for our protagonist to use. With nothing but revenge in his eyes, Kanagi tells every founder to go all out on the guy. Meanwhile, the enemy completely regenerates his arm once again. That surprises Hinoki. The mage founder says it is reversal, a skill she never thought a modern awakener would have. She guesses the artifact is healing him repeatedly until its power runs out. While she explains this, Kanagi fires an arrow straight into the guy's head. He never even saw it coming, but the wound closes up almost instantly. One founder asks how they are supposed to kill him. The mage says they must keep killing him until he stays dead. The guy casts darkness until he finally stays dead. The guy casts his darkness spell while Kanagi knocks another arrow. When he lets it fly, the darkness tries to stop it, but the arrow punches through, hitting the guy in both the chest and the head. The darkness tries to stop it, but the arrow punches through, hitting him in the chest and head. The archer founder taunts him, asking if he really thought his arrows could be stopped. The guy heals. He taunts him, asking if he really thought his arrows could be stopped. The guy heals again and fires a swarm of darkness orbs. Using the founder's evasion skills, Kanagi slips past them. He slips past and rushes in fast. Using the founder's evasion skills, Kanagi slips past them and rushes in. He kicks the guy right in the face. He gets hit right in the face. He grabs the guy's hand and slams a palm strike into him. A founder points out the guy can't fire his anal beam, not when his own orbs are blocking his view. That makes things easier since his moves are simpler to dodge. With his sight blocked, things get way easier for them. Kanagi smashes a heavy blow into the guy's gut, sending him crashing down really hard. The founders start wondering how many times they'll watch this guy die and return. Then the protagonist heads over to check on Makoto. Makoto is barely hanging on and asks if it's really him. The hero says no, the founders are using his body. They are using Valentine's unique healing power, preservation. Kanagi begins restoring Makoto's mangled arm. Using Valentine's healing power, Kanagi starts restoring Makoto's arms. While healing him, he says they are short on time and need to move fast. As he leaves, Makoto realizes it is the founders controlling him. Nearby, the guy stands back up, shocked that his spells were beaten so easily. The protagonist doesn't give him a second to think before attacking. He drives a spear right through his chest. He keeps striking his heart over and over, never giving him a second to recover. A founder asks the mage if leaving the spear in his heart stops the healing. He doesn't get a second to recover. A founder asks if the spear will stop the healing, but it doesn't. The spear slips through as the guy regenerates again. As he comes back, Kanagi drops a crushing kick from above and smashes him into the dirt. Our hero starts wondering which part would grow back first if they destroyed his body. This time, the guy starts regenerating right from his hand. By the time his body is restored, he's panting and clearly wearing out. He's clearly exhausted from being torn apart, but he refuses to be stopped by some kid. He decides to kill Makoto and just run. But when he rushes over, Kanagi is already there sitting beside Makoto and guarding him with a crazy smile. He tells him he is too late. Then Hinoki takes over the protagonist's body and, using his skills, uses his sword style to cut the guy into tiny pieces. Even after being totally destroyed like that, the guy isn't afraid to die because he thinks he's fulfilling a prophecy. But facing something as terrifying as Kanagi starts to shake his resolve. As he regenerates again, he tries to steady himself by remembering the mission. He reaches into his bag for another artifact before fear can take over. The MC cuts his arm off before he can use it, but it falls. Before fear can take over, the hero cuts his arm off, but the artifact falls and creates a huge golden prison around Kanagi, the sand cage of time. At that moment, the guy's healing runs out and his arm won't grow back. Relieved, he thinks he barely survived the fight. The founders see the cage and get worried, especially since the guy's regeneration is finished. Outside the cage, the guy says not even his darkness can break it, so he can't be killed. Looking nervous, he says he is leaving, but before he can, there is no way to kill him from inside. Looking nervous, he says he is leaving, but before he can finish, Hinoki yells for him to look carefully. The guy suddenly feels a huge presence behind him. He turns to see Makoto standing again, still healing as he rises up. So, how is Makoto this absurdly strong anyway? It goes back to his childhood, when he trained under the best, Midori. Makoto even won a match. Since he won, Midori told him to find a better teacher. Following the advice of the world's strongest awakener, Makoto searched for top masters, but he outgrew each one. Swordsmanship, magic, speed, it didn't matter. None could keep up for even a month. One teacher finally sent him to the strongest swordsman they knew, Hinoki's little sister, Ichika. Ichika became Makoto's final master, and he trained with her for about 3 years. During one lesson, Makoto asked her a question, told her about a legendary sword style from a book called Indomitable. Even Ichika couldn't explain it. She said only the founder, Hinoki, could pull it off. Hearing that only hooked Makoto more since he'd already read about it. Soon, Ichika realized she had nothing left to teach him. Makoto had already mastered Hinoki's one-handed sword style all by himself. Makoto wanted to get stronger, But Ichika didn't know how he could go further. She said he was like a flower but that hadn't bloomed, and blooming in this life might be hard. Still, she hoped a greater swordsman would one day find him. Back in the present, Makoto realizes that moment has finally arrived. It's here. He's watching Kanagi use sword moves he didn't even know were actually possible. Ichika once said a chance like this comes only once in a lifetime. He can't let it slip away now. Thanking Ichika in his heart, Makoto brings his severed arms together. All the founders stare at him, confused about what he's trying to do. Kanagi is seriously worried about his captain's safety. Outside the cage, Makoto starts giving off the same intense energy as the protagonist while facing down the enemy. Far away at the anti-prophecy faction's training grounds, Midori is sparring with Swotuo. He suddenly senses an overwhelming power. A blast suddenly shakes the entire area. Then when he senses an overwhelming aura, a blast shakes the place. When it clears, a giant hole is in the wall and Midori is gone. Back on the battlefield, the enemy can understand how Makoto is still fighting in this condition. He knows he's about to be cut down. Watching this happen, Hinoki explains the truth. Seeing it happen, Hinoki explains to Kanagi that people are just like flowers. They bloom when they reach their true peak through spirit or a perfected technique. For Makoto, that time is now. Standing behind the hero, Hinoki tells him to burn this moment into his memory. He understands, like a flower opening. Makoto raises his arms as if holding a sword with complete focus. He uses the lost move from Hinoki's style, indomitable. Though the enemy's darkness defense is perfect, Makoto still cuts him in half without even needing a real sword in his hand. As his body splits apart, the guy wonders if his journey ends here. Hinoki praises Makoto for creating a sword from pure thought. Makoto stands there dazed, but deep down, he knows he's finally become the legendary swordsman he always wanted. He feels truly blessed for the time he spent with his family. He's grateful for his family, his friends, his comrades, and everyone who served under him. Everything he lived through made him stronger. If this really is the end, he thinks of his brother and his cat, quietly saying sorry to them. As his vision fades, he sees Kanagi coming toward him now. Kanagi holds out a hand with a warm smile. As his vision fades, he sees the protagonist smiling and reaching out. In that moment, Makoto realizes death might not be the end after all. Through the protagonist, his will can reach the next generation. He takes the hero's hand. He thanks him and collapses when the cage disappears after the defeat. Kanagi rushes to his captain, feeling a deep bond through the Crest of Nothingness. All around them, the others lie dead. Just as Makoto is about to join them, Midori comes flying in. He catches Makoto just before he hits the ground. Makoto dies in Midori's arms at 23. After killing the darkness user, Midori holds Makoto's body. He simply can't accept what just happened. He remembers training with Makoto and asking why he became squad captain. Midori said that in their unit, Makoto was second only to him. If Makoto went all out, nobody could stop him. Midori asked why someone that strong didn't just fight alone. Makoto was caught off guard, asking if Midori thought he couldn't work with others. To Makoto, his team meant more than anything, but he never found the right words to say it. Right then his teammates shouted through the security feed. He didn't know how to say it just as his team called through the camera. Jakiro was hyped because Kyuzushiro had finally cleared his level 2 assignment. Kyuzushiro was stoked and wanted to tell the captain first. Jakiro suggested they all go grab some lunch. Seeing them laugh and celebrate together, Midori was completely stunned. Midori was shocked. Makoto admitted he loved his squad and would risk getting hurt in battle for them. He would still be happy just having his friends beside him. Now Midori holds Makoto and says his wish came true even if most of the squad is gone. At least 2 of them are still alive. Most of the squad is gone but 2 are left. Tearing up, Midori closes Makoto's eyes and tells him he was an incredible leader. Midori knows he couldn't have done it, but Makoto led them with pure honor. Nearby, Kanagi lies on the ground. The founders stand over him as darkness takes hold. The mage says Kanagi blames himself for the station falling and for being weak. The founders get it. They have all lost friends and family, and many like Hinoki never really recovered. Hinoki walks over to Kanagi, who is kneeling in total despair, and tries to reach him. Hinoki goes to the broken Kanagi and calls out to him, but he just wants to quit. His heart is completely shattered. He believes that if the founders had fought from the start, no one would have died. Trying to get stronger for others just turned him into a vessel. Hinoki tries to find words. Hinoki tries to answer, but Kanagi is drowning in his thoughts. In his mind he feels the hand he shared with Makoto burning like fire. Kanagi is lost in his thoughts, feeling the memory of Makoto's hand burning like fire. He finally understands that Makoto trusted him to carry the torch and finish what he started. That brings tears to the founders' eyes, but Kanagi's next words for them. He says he doesn't just want to surpass the founders. He wants to go way beyond them and every single past hero. Suddenly a bright beam of light strikes Kanagi. He declares his final resolve. A bright beam of light hits Kanagi as he makes a vow. From now on he won't let another person die. 1 month later at Mount Mitake, in the Nagano prefecture, Suo is sparring with him in hand-to-hand combat, throwing endless punches. Kanagi avoids them all. Then the protagonist fires back with a piercing strike. Even though Suo blocks the attack, the impact sends a massive shockwave behind him. Kanagi is stunned that Suo redirected that force so easily. Before he can react, Suo attacks again. This time he is ready and uses Aikido to toss Suo around the mat. Using Aikido to flip him, Suo throws a kick mid-air, but Kanagi blocks it and counters with a heavy kick of his own right before the blow. Just before it lands, a loud shout yells stop. It stops them. It is Ichika. How did things end up like this? A loud shout stops them right before impact. It is Ichika. How did it come to this? After Makoto's squad fell, the loss of Makoto's squad left a massive wound in the anti-prophecy unit. At the funeral, everyone was grieving. Losing Makoto's squad left a massive hole in the anti-prophecy unit. At the funeral, everyone was grieving, but Suo just stood in front of his brother's photo. Later, Kanagi saw him leaving Makoto's room with some books and a cat. He stood like a statue in front of the photo. Later, Kanagi saw him leaving Makoto's room with books and a cat. He recognized the cat as Oribe, the one Makoto mentioned. Suo was surprised the protagonist knew the cat, since even he had not known it before entering Makoto's room. Suo was shocked he knew about the cat, since he didn't know until entering Makoto's room. He had no idea the cat existed. He didn't know about the books, the clothes, the food, or his brother's thoughts. He only learned that by going through Makoto's things. Kanagi then noticed Suo was carrying a whole stack of diaries. After sorting through his things, Kanagi saw Suo carrying diaries. Makoto had left them for his brother in case he died. They recorded all his training and his daily life. But Suo found something else too. Nearly every entry ended with Makoto worrying about him, how he was doing, the weather, his progress, and small life events. Reading through those personal diary entries all alone in his room, Suo felt every small milestone his brother recorded. Overwhelmed by the memories, he collapsed onto the floor in tears. Everything his brother wrote felt real again as Suo explained the story to Kanagi. Suo told Kanagi that Makoto never stopped talking about him and Oribe, making Suo start crying all over again. He vowed to get stronger so his brother wouldn't have to worry about him from heaven anymore. They visited Ichika for training next. She stayed wary until learning Suo was Makoto's brother and that he'd actually fallen in battle. That news rattled Ichika, but she kept her cool. All Suo and the MC begged for her training. Back in the present, Ichika is stunned by their growth, seeing how far they have come lately. Kanagi asks about his own progress, prompting a long sigh from Ichika. She claims she has nothing left to teach him because he already knows too much, even joking that she should be the one asking him for lessons. She kicks a stick toward them both with a wild grin, claiming she is the lessons. Instead, she kicks a stick their way with a wild grin, announcing she is the sort and they should just come at her. They both charge. Suo attacks head-on while the MC strikes from above. As they fight, the MC swears he will keep getting stronger to become the world's most powerful awakener. Meanwhile, over in London, a man wearing a hat and coat walks alone through the night, turning into an alley. He's identified as Cotter, one of the 12 apostles of the apocalypse. Cotter recognizes the person facing him now, too. The apostle recognizes the person facing him. It is Midori. She coldly demands the location of his secret base and comrades, warning that anything other than the truth will get him killed. Cotter instantly pulls out his strange, heart-shaped hike and tells Midori to just try him. A burst of blood sprays across the alley. Midori walks out completely untouched while other anti-prophecy members wait outside. Midori hands them the book, turns away, and says 7 are left. That makes 5 books total. They have already taken out 5 of the 12 apostles of the apocalypse, and Midori is already hunting for the next one. The next target inside the anti-prophecy top-secret facility, the hunt for everlasting secrets. Inside the anti-prophecy top-secret facility, a member presents the book Midori recovered to an old woman in charge. She is Io, the superintendent of the anti-prophecy. This old woman is Io, head of the anti-prophecy unit. The man delivering the book explains it came from Midori and confirms these are prophecy books. Taken from the 12 apostles of the apocalypse, he is Tengen, Io's assistant. Another assistant named Shiki is there too. She suggests these books might be fragments of one massive book that was split apart. Io opens the book and says the real issue isn't killing apostles or collecting the books. The real problem is Midori acting alone, as Makoto's death seems to have scarred him deeply. Hearing that, Shiki asks what they should do. With a smile, Io tells them to leave Midori to her, promising to make tea when he returns. Once back, Tenon and Shiki suggest that since Makoto's squad left an empty spot in the anti-prophecy unit, they are willing to form a brand new squad under their own command. Io goes quiet and thinks it over. Unit, they want to form a new squad under their own command. Io goes quiet to think. Meanwhile, near Tokyo, a rank to prophecy called Rebellion breaks out, led by the God of Death. Down, anti-prophecy members are battling the enemy troops, but they are struggling to take down even a few in panic. They call out for their captain. Their captain, Hibiki Setsuna, steps forward. To her, these enemies are just boring and easy targets. She glances back at Akane, who is training with her squad, and asks if she can handle it. Akane finally activates her Trismegistus. To handle it, Akane triggers her Trismegistus spell, creating a massive pool of mercury, then yells for everyone to stay back as she floods the ground toward the enemy troops. Once the liquid silver completely covers their feet, Akane transforms the mercury into a deadly gas, causing the troops to cough and choke, and then she reverts the gas back into liquid mercury while it is still inside their bodies. Next, she uses crimson heat to boil it and make it solid. With the metal inside them, she uses crimson heat to boil it and finally solidify, killing them instantly as jagged spikes tear through their flesh. The entire squad is terrorized because Akane just wiped out every single soldier. In seconds, she snaps her fingers, turns back to the team, and casually says she is finished. Hibiki walks over. She approaches while clapping and praises her for mastering 3 states of matter and combining 4 different attacks into one combo. Lifting Akane by the chin, Hibiki says it is a shame she is just a temporary recruit, then asks her to join for real. Once training is over, Akane excitedly admits she will definitely think about it. The rest of the team is stunned, wondering if a girl that cute and powerful might actually join. But the truth is, Hibiki wants Akane on the squad just to make her own fights way easier. Wondering if she will really join, but Hibiki actually wants Akane around since she makes battles effortless. As soon as she leaves, she calls Kanagi to report she finished lesson 7 on alchemy and its 3 states, then asks him to provide the next challenge. He is busy guarding his lunch from the cat but says okay. The legendary alchemist is shocked Akane cleared level 7 so fast, and the hero asks him to prep 3 more lessons for her, and he gladly agrees. After she finished 7, the protagonist asks for 3 more lessons and he agrees. Kanagi tells Akane and she is grateful. Mentions Haneda reached lesson -1 already in the Tokorozawa city area. In Saitama Prefecture, a rank to prophecy called the Earth-Eating Beast appears, led by a massive Sphinx. Haneda hunts the boss and shatters it with a single lightning kick, completing his level 8. Training, the captain of the Todoroki squad praises Haneda and begs him to join their elite team just like Akane. Haneda says he needs time to choose a squad, then asks her for an opinion. Akane just smirks and says it does not matter where he goes because she will beat them anyway. Kanagi, still on the line, is happy they are both leveling up and decides he needs to start training even harder himself. That makes Suo complain that Oribe only cares about the MC and he tries to pull the cat away. Then Akane mentions a rumor about a new squad. She explains it is being formed to replace Makoto, and the leader will be the member with the best score. The protagonist does not care about it, but Akane is not looking at the captain spot. She wants to know if Kanagi will start his own team. At first he acts like she is only joking, then he suddenly freezes, realizing how serious she is, and asks, is she even brought Apocalyptic says there is a wish inside the anti-prophecy group they want a force that can destroy every single prophet, and that catches the MC off guard. Well, Akane admits she wants that. As well, she says everyone is searching for a powerful leader and, in her mind, Kanagi has the talent to lead a squad. Right then her actual captain calls her, so Akane quickly says her goodbyes and hangs up the phone. After that, he cannot stop thinking about the idea of being a captain. Later on, Ichika asks Suo about the protagonist, and he mentions the talk of Kanagi potentially becoming a leader. Ichika says Kanagi could do it if he tried, and Suo finally agrees. Still feeling uncertain, the hero turns to the masters for some advice, but even they do not seem to know what to tell him. They've spent forever just following orders. They don't really get how to make a choice like this. The mage founder snaps, calling them useless mentors since they can't actually lead him. They lack the experience for this decision. The mage founder calls them useless since they won't help. Hinoki asks Ryan for advice, but the master strategist refuses to get involved yet, claiming the timing isn't right. The time isn't right. He adds that someone else is already perfectly suited to be his guy. Before Kanagi can even process that, a wooden spear thuds into the dirt right next to him. He looks up to see Ichika approaching. She tells him to quit overthinking and just keep moving. Just keep training. With a wild smirk, she dares him to use Flash Step on her. Kanagi accepts the challenge, leaps off the boulder, and triggers his Flash Step. He combines it with Ripple Step to make sure he lands safely. He drops from the rock, blending Flash Step with Ripple Step for a soft landing. Ichika is shocked, starting to wonder who this guy really is. To her, no regular awakener should be this good after only 6 months. Only 6 months. He laughs, thinking back to Hinoki's brutal training sessions and how many times he totally failed. The memory fades fast when he feels a surge of energy. Ichika lunges with her powered-up wooden staff, and he barely dodges. He narrowly escapes as her strike shatters the boulder behind him. With her staff glowing, he barely gets away before the rock behind him splits. Suo is left totally speechless. Ichika warns Kanagi she doesn't care if he's distracted, she make him focus. Feeling the pressure, the protagonist steadies his breath and finally locks in. As he focuses, Hinoki realizes Ryan was right. Ichika is the one who should guide him. The mage founder notices Ichika is incredibly strong for a modern awakener. Exactly what you'd expect from Hinoki's bloodline. Hinoki denies having kids, suggesting she's related to her brother instead. But she still admits the girl is talented. She is strong, she trained hard. Since she trained Makoto, she could be a true successor. Suddenly, Hinoki spots her using a new move called Skyfall 1. It shoots a bolt of electricity at Kanagi, which he barely avoids. After that attack, he realizes Ichika is actually fighting him for real. She rushes back in, following up with her lethal purgatory sword technique. She sends a heavy strike straight at him. Hinoki watches in awe, realizing Ichika created a new move by refining everything passed down to her. Kanagi dodges again, impressing Ichika. Even though he's never seen this move, he still cleared it. She praises his one-handed sword style, noting it looks just like the founders. That comparison shocks Kanagi, and before he can even respond, Ichika suggests he's been worried about whether he'll ever be as strong as Makoto. Before he can answer, Ichika asks if he's been stressing over whether he can ever match Makoto's legendary power. Kanagi freezes. That is exactly what's bothering him. He stops cold. That is exactly what's on his mind, leaving Suo stunned too. Hearing that, Kanagi grips his sword tighter. He remembers witnessing Makoto's power firsthand and how incredible he was as a captain. That's why he keeps doubting if he'll ever reach that peak. To his total surprise, Ichika tells him he doesn't need to be Makoto. Suddenly, she yells for him to focus, surges her energy, and unleashes Tango Dance, creating a massive water tornado. She explains that later masters developed this style further. They might never match the founder's insane power, but by constantly chasing that peak, they managed to get closer bit by bit. Bit by bit, Kanagi finally understands. Ichika admits she doesn't fully know how legendary Makoto really was, but from what she saw, he was clearly an incredible leader. She doesn't know the full extent of Makoto's greatness, but she knows he was a fantastic leader. She tells Kanagi he won't be like Makoto right away, but if he keeps training, he'll eventually reach that same level. Pointing her wooden staff at him, she tells him not to just copy Makoto. Instead, he should walk the path meant for him alone. Those words remind Kanagi of the day Makoto finally shook his hand, Remembering that moment, he realizes he needs to look forward instead of constantly comparing himself to others. Ichika smiles and promises she will personally train him for that future. After 2 weeks of brutal training, Hibiki and Todoroki are at anti-prophecy headquarters, reviewing the list of candidates for the new squad captain position. The superintendent himself handpicked all these top recommendations. Both Kanagi and Ichika made it. Some people think these choices are a bit weird. The superintendent handpicked Kanagi and Ichika, which raises some eyebrows. Outside, a mysterious figure on the phone reports they have successfully infiltrated the facility. They mention that the exam to choose the new captain is set to begin in exactly 3 days. Clutching the Book of Doom, the figure vows to lead the anti-prophecy's next squad. The person is Eva, one of the 12 apostles from the group called Apocalypse. Eva has a skill called Heavenly Demon. Letting her steal the identity of anyone she kills, she plans to lead the new squad and wreck the anti-prophecy from within. Midori is hunting the 12 apostles and has already eliminated over half. They know beating him in a fair fight is totally impossible, so they'll destroy the anti-prophecy from the inside to ensure the prophecy is fulfilled at any cost. 3 days later, the selection exam kicks off at the grand training field as all candidates gather. The instructor announces there will be 4 different tests. Only 4 people make the finals. Points are awarded. 3 for first place, 2 for second, and 1 point for the person in third. Whoever finishes with the most points will be the captain of the new squad. The superintendent watches in silence. The instructor tells everyone to give it their best. They all respond with a loud shout. As the instructor gives the order, everyone yells yes. Kanagi can feel every single eye in the room locked onto him. There are 8 candidates, including Koki from the Yagura Mask Squad. Akihina is from the Urasuya Squad. Ina represents Urazuya, while Sanobi comes from Yashima Squad. Hisagi is from Kakabe Squad. Sakazaki represents the Sarazaki Squad. Shikami hails from Todoroki Squad. And Jiro is from Hibiki Squad. Aki, Shikami, and Jiro are all there. But the real threat is that one of them is actually Eva, an apostle in disguise acting as a candidate. Then there is Kanagi, the special recommendation. He is alone because his captain, Ichika, managed to oversleep yet again. But she sent him a message saying, if he loses, she will personally make him regret it later. Not wanting to fail before she arrives, the protagonist steels himself for the tough exam. Meanwhile, Ichika is racing toward the training grounds. As the exam starts, Ichika is charging toward the training field on Suzu's back, screaming at him to move as fast as possible. She knows they will miss the best part if they do not hurry. She keeps yelling to go faster because she refuses to miss the highlights. She is absolutely sure Kanagi is going to win this thing. She won't miss it. Back at the field, the mana test starts. Back on the field, the first test for mana measurement begins. To everyone's absolute shock, Kanagi unleashes so much power that the device actually breaks, landing him in first place. Akihina from the Urasuya Squad finishes 5th, totally stunned by the protagonist's overwhelming level of raw power. Sakazaki takes 3rd and Sanobi takes 2nd. Both realize Kanagi is on a whole different level. Sakazaki notes that freak cases like this only happen when a true genius appears. He figures the protagonist is a total mana monster. He compares him to another weirdo in the exam, Shikami, who placed 7th. That 7th place finish keeps Kanagi first with 3 total points. The instructor announces Test 2, hand-to-hand combat. Now the real fighting begins. Each person faces an opponent, and a win earns 2 points. As the first matchup is called, Shikami raises his hand and asks to fight the protagonist directly. He is known as the strongest regular in hand-to-hand combat and is basically an irregular. Even when he was only 2 years old, monsters from another dimension started appearing all around him. While still in a stroller, he killed every single monster alone, shocking his mother and becoming a legend. In the crowd, Hibiki calls Todoroki a cheater for using Shikami, but Todoroki says his best fighter is fair. He says it is totally fair since Shikami has massive magic talent and insane physical strength. Todoroki proudly says he has trained Shikami since day 1, and nobody has ever beaten him in close combat. Hearing that, Hibiki wonders if the match will end instantly since Shikami is nearly impossible to beat up close. As the fight begins, Shikami walks right up to Kanagi. He asks if Kanagi has really been giving Hinata private lessons. Thinking of the founders, our protagonist answers that he is nothing but a messenger. Shikami is confused, but says someone is clearly mentoring Hinata since she is already such a genius. Shikami claims Hinata would reach that level even without him, and Kanagi just nods along. That simple agreement only makes Shikami feel even more annoyed. He just nods and agrees she would reach that level alone. That answer only makes Shikami more irritated, so he activates Violent Bite and turns monstrous. He turns into a monster and then rushes the protagonist at an insane speed. Kanagi, he barely ducks, and Shikami instantly follows up with a heavy claw strike. Todoroki loves watching his fighter go all out. Todoroki loves seeing his fighter go all out. Shikami throws everything into this swing, but Kanagi slips to the side and takes the opening. Dropping into a kudo stance, he grabs Shikami by the arm. He catches the wrist and slams him hard into the ground. The impact sends out a massive shockwave, blasting rocks in every direction. Rocks fly everywhere, leaving the entire crowd stunned. Once the dust finally clears, both fighters are midair. The crowd can hardly believe it. Kanagi simply redirected the attack, yet the force wrecked the entire field. Even Kanagi is amazed by Shikami's incredible power, but Shikami thinks the hero is just mocking him. Even after that heavy slam, Shikami lands safely. He is amazed by the power, but Shikami thinks he is being mocked. Despite the slam, he lands safely on the broken ground, shocking everyone. Akihina watches on his laptop and says, "This was always bound to happen." Shikami's body is way tougher than normal fighters. His physical boost is on a whole different level. After resetting himself, Shikami charges in once again. Shikami charges again. Kanagi realizes that simple counters will not work and he needs a brand new strategy. Using founder power, he needs a new approach. Using founder power, he throws a light kick at the incoming fighter. Then, he multiplies the force with his penetration technique. He uses his luminance kick to strike Shikami over and over while they are midair. Everyone stares in shock. They watch in shock as Shikami crashes down to the floor. The instructor steps in immediately, stops the fight, and gives Kanagi the win plus 2 extra points. The squad is stunned. Kanagi just beat Shikami using pure close combat, despite Akihina calling him an irregular. Now Akihina is typing furiously, totally caught off guard by how strong the MC is in a fight. He thought he could be taken out easily, but now he is clearly a problem for the plan. When Shikami finally wakes up, he is shocked to see Kanagi using a high-level spell. Our protagonist calmly explains that he is currently healing. That just confuses Shikami more. Between the crazy mana, strength, and now healing, he is overwhelmed. Shikami asks if there is anything the MC actually cannot do. That question takes him back to when he failed to save the fallen Makoto squad. After healing him a bit more, the protagonist says he should be able to stand now, up soon. While they talk, a massive explosion suddenly rings out nearby. Kanagi looks over and says that is the final hand-to-hand battle. Shikami panics, thinking he was out for hours, but the MC says it has only been 5 minutes. He explains that the other matches started immediately, and 2 of them ended almost instantly. Only Akihina and Hisagi are still fighting after 5 minutes. Neither wants to back down. They are trading heavy blows without holding anything back. Hisagi rushes in, but Akihina repels her with a massive attack. She mocks him for having no special talent, saying someone like him should not be attacked with a powerful blow. She insults his lack of talent, saying he is not captain material. Akihina keeps his balance and replies that he was never actually trying to stand out. To him, a leader who only takes the job for show is just walking toward death. A real captain must adapt to anything to raise the squad's survival odds by even 1%, that is the leader he wants to be. Avoiding the Makoto squad's fate. Those words hit Kanagi hard, since Akihina is talking about his dead comrades in that way. Shikami gets angry too and tells Akihina to watch his mouth. Back in the fight, Hisagi uses her chainsword style and charges with stunning energy waves. These waves hit. Akihina blocks, but the force still slams him into the ground. Hisagi goes in for another hit, but right before it lands, Akihina suddenly surrenders. The instructor ends the match and names Hisagi the winner, leaving her stunned. Another squad member grabs her before she can lunge at him, furious that he quit. Seriously, Akihina says he expected a long fight, so he saved his strength for the next tests. Walking off, he is sure he could have beat Daten Hisagi, but does not want to show everything yet, especially with Kanagi. He is sure he could have beaten Hisagi, but he does not want to show everything yet, especially with Kanagi watching. The hand-to-hand round ends with him in first place at 5 points. The instructor calls for a 30-minute break and warns that after the next test, the 4 lowest scores will be cut. As lunch starts, the protagonist wonders, or Ichika and Suar. They should already be here. Outside anti-prophecy headquarters, Su finally arrives carrying Ichika, who is completely worn out. He is confused when she heads for the courtyard instead of the training area and asks why. Ichika says she smells a lingering aura there, one that tells her someone recently died. She says it feels like an awakener was killed by a monster far stronger than them. Su is stunned. If an awakener died here, someone might have infiltrated anti-prophecy headquarters, even secretly. Ichika says the 12 apostles are strong enough to find a place like this. That shakes Su even more, and when he asks why they would come here, she ignores him. She tells him to head to the training area. In her head, she is sure the dead person was captain level, but since nobody reported it, things are area. In her head, she is sure the victim was captain level. Since nobody reported it, the whole situation is getting. Things are stranger now. Su and Kanagi all share the same goal of avenging Makoto. During lunch, while everyone eats and treats their painful injuries, Akihina sits alone with his laptop. MC sits alone with his laptop while hanging out with Shikami, but his face brightens up after he spots Ichigo. The vibe shifts quickly once the others recognize the newcomer. It is Ichika, an elite member of the Special Task Force Against the Prophecy. Su looks around at the captains, feeling uneasy. Izagai said a captain had been targeted, supposedly killed. Yet all 7 captains are standing right here. Hearing that is just impossible. Despite the death report, all 7 captains are standing right here. Izagai smirks and calls Kanagi over because she has something very important she needs to tell him. She explains the situation, shocking him with the theory that one captain might actually be a member of the 12 apostles. Based on the aura in the courtyard, Izagai says the victim was definitely a high-level captain, but since every captain is still here, something is wrong. One of them must be a fake hiding behind a dead man's identity. Since every captain is present, something clearly does not add up. The only answer is an imposter took the victim's place. Hearing this, Kanagi immediately tenses up. Kanagi tenses up, and Su agrees. The person who killed a captain could be standing right here among them. Su warns that if they do not handle this soon, more people will die. Worse, it could trigger a prophecy powerful enough to wipe out all of humanity. Ichika, grinning like a maniac, suggests the easy way out. Just kill everyone there to eliminate the threat. He ends to shut that crazy idea down fast. They refuse to just kill everyone to remove the threat. Instead, they argue that they only need to find the one apostle hiding in plain sight and take that person out right now. Akina gets fired up. This could be their big chance for some payback. Finding the apostle among them is their only shot at avenging Makoto. After all, it was the 12 apostles who killed him. She asks Kanagi if he is looking for the same kind of justice. Thinking back on what happened to Makoto and the rest of the squad, he says, yes. Su clenches his fists, remembering the tragedy that struck his family. He is thinking of his brother. The protagonist then asks Azure, the lead detective, for his take. Azure wants to check the scene first, but with the exam in progress, that is not really an option right now. Kanagi considers making a move before lunch ends, but Azure warns that a sudden move might alert the killer. If this apostle is as dangerous as the one from Snowy Mountain, they could kill everyone. They have to be prepared for that. So the protagonist decides to inspect the area tonight. He wonders if even the founders could miss a trace of leftover aura. Kanoki notes they spent a month training by a volcano to master his one-handed sword style. He explains the volcano's heat might be disrupting the chi, making any energy traces nearly impossible to detect. Mage adds that if the aura is only detectable at close range, they are surely dealing with a top apostle. Azure gets grumpy that everyone is trying to do his detective work, but Hinoki cuts him off. They need to find the killer so he can finish the job personally. Hinoki tells Azure to quit complaining and focus on finding the culprit so he can kill him himself. Shifting back to the puzzle, Azure tells him to ask Ichika a specific question. Could the apostle be hiding as one of the candidates instead of a captain? That question catches Ichika off guard. After a moment, she admits it is possible, if they mean the captain candidates. Even then, she says the actual squad captains are not off the hook. Kanagi understands. He quickly builds a strategy for the next test, assuming it will involve heavy combat. But minutes later, the instructor kicks off the next phase. It is a written exam, which completely blindsides our protagonist. Candidates are isolated without phones, so MC cannot find clues. The exam is entirely focused on the rules regarding the anti-prophecy task force. He barely understands a single word of it, but he still refuses to give up. He does not understand the rules, but he refuses to quit and pushes through. When time is finally up, the instructor steps forward to announce the results. Kanagi scores 0, while Akina takes second place. The bottom 4 candidates, including Shikami, are all cut. Humiliated, the protagonist feels total shame for getting the worst possible score on the written exam. He just stands there. Frustrated, Shikami comes over and tells the main character he did a great job. They both failed the written test. But Shikami is even more upset that Akahina got a perfect score. Even so, he praises Kanagi for staying in first place and says he is rooting for him. He wonders who will become the new captain before the superintendent evaluates if the new squad can really work together. Shikami explains a squad needs at least 7 people, so the captain has to gather 6 more members. He tells him to start thinking about his picks once he is captain. Then he puts a hand on the protagonist's shoulder and offers to join his squad, bragging about his strong build. Then he claps our hero on the shoulder and offers to join his squad, bragging about his strong body. With a grin, Shikami walks off and wishes him luck on the exam. Once he is gone, Azure tells him to go check the crime scene, but his tone makes him realize Azure already knows who did it. Azure confirms it but says he still needs hard proof before he can officially name the culprit. Then he says it is time for them to strike back at the 12 apostles. The mage reviews everything and mentions that Detective Azure has been helping them. Protagonists think through the case. Hinoki gets annoyed by her roundabout explanation, though she is just keeping things light. At the crime scene, Azure steps in for our hero to investigate. Azure steps in for him and starts investigating. Just as he thought, all the clues match his theory. Now that the victim is confirmed, he knows exactly who the killer is, too. Hearing that, Hinoki realizes their enemy really is one of the 12 apostles. Now that the killer is confirmed, Hinoki realizes their enemy is one of the 12 apostles and that he may have the Book of Doom. Just like the last apostle, the mage asks what they do next, but before Kanagi can answer, he feels a sudden wave of power and gets pulled into a cloudy world. Before Kanagi can answer, a sudden wave of power pulls him into a misty world. There he meets an old woman who says she is just a passing granny. Bye. She asks how the investigation is going. She asks about the case, and he says there has been a murder. The killer is using a host body and is very skilled. The granny asks if they should catch him now, but he says they already know who it is. They are not guessing because they have proof. Even so, he says he still cannot reveal every detail. They know the killer and have proof, but he refuses to reveal everything just yet. The granny thinks the best move is to expose the killer and take them outright away. The protagonist tells her it is not that simple. There are actually 2 culprits instead of 1. He says it is better to bring them both down together when they are in the same place. He will handle it by morning and asks the old lady, who is really the superintendent, to just watch. She smiles, wishes him luck, and repeats she is only a passing granny who will not interfere as she starts to leave. Kanagi tells her his name, which makes the old woman smile. She promises not to interfere as she leaves, and Kanagi tells her his name, making the old woman smile again. A strong burst of energy suddenly rushes into him and he returns to his body. In a secret room, the assistant asks the superintendent if it is okay to leave things like this. The granny says she does not mind. Kanagi seems close to the truth and looks like he has a plan. She wants to see what he does next and tells the assistant if officers back him up if anything happens. The assistant agrees, but says she found nothing special even after checking the leftover traces. Still, the superintendent chooses to trust the protagonist. The assistant cannot understand why she believes in him so much. The granny says it is because of the confidence and resolve she saw in his look. She explains that she trusts him because of the confidence and resolve she saw in his eyes. The next day, he walks through the woods when Shikami joins him and explains the next test. This one will judge how well they can act as a squad. Captain, Shikami says Akihino will probably lean on strategy, but he is still cheering for Kanagi to win. Kanagi thanks him, then suddenly asks Shikami through the exam on purpose. After a short, creepy pause, Shikami turns to him and says he changed his plan halfway. Instead of becoming captain, he would rather work his way up under a strong leader. Kanagi eyes him suspiciously, saying he did it to wipe out all the promising squad members. Ichika is nearby too, hiding in the trees to act as backup. Shikami doesn't deny it. He says he has no problem killing if it is needed for a replacement. He explains that during the third test, his mind blanked. He could only pull out what was already stored there. That is why he scored a 0. Calling himself an idiot, he says it would be easier to just get rid of Akihina's body instead. When they reach an open field, everything changes. All the squad captains are waiting for them. At the center, Todoroki is chained to the ground with Hibiki and another captain standing beside him. Still acting smug, Hibiki calls Shikami Mr. Apostle and tells him it is time to introduce himself. He knows his cover is blown. Shikami drops the act and reveals he is really Evo, the 9th apostle. Eva explains her power drains info from a host, and she chose Shikami because he had the best body available. Hibiki smirks, asking if Eva tried to wreck the anti-prophecy from the inside. Eva says yes, but since she failed, she is just going to kill everyone here instead. Before that though, she wants to know who actually figured her out. Hibiki points at Kanagi. He's standing right next to her. Hibiki points at Kanagi, who is standing right beside Eva. Eva gives him a nasty grin, saying she is surprised he had the nerve to stand that close to her. She turns toward him, releasing a huge burst. She's surprised he had the nerve to stand so close. She turns toward him, releasing massive energy and demanding his name. But how did they ever get to this point? Before Eva took over Shikami's body, Todoroki told him he would recommend him as a candidate for the new squad. Shikami was totally thrilled. Todoroki warned him it was a secret for now and would only be announced the next morning. Shikami got even more excited, joking that if they kept talking, everyone would find out the news anyway. Todoroki reassured him, saying Shikami was one of the strongest there when it came to raw ... power and would make an excellent captain. Hearing that faith in him, Shikami agreed and promised to do his best. But as he went for a fist bump with Todoroki, something sliced him into tiny pieces. He promised to do his best, but during a fist bump, something butchered Shikami instantly. He was slaughtered right in front of Todoroki's very eyes. Todoroki froze, unable to understand what he just saw. Shikami was butchered right in front of him. Todoroki froze in shock. Then, a deep voice mocked Shikami for being weak, asking if this was really the level of a captain candidate. The voice answered itself, saying the squad only got strong because of artifacts and the person who gave them those tools. The figure stepped forward, introduced herself as Eva of the 12 Apostles, and said she looked forward to the carnage. Eva walked over to the corpse and used her heavenly demon skill to take it over completely. While she was doing that, Todoroki unleashed Vader and blew her body apart with one massive punch. Breathing hard and furious, Todoroki starts breaking down. Todoroki starts tearing up, but then hears clapping. The same Shikami he saw die is standing there, praising Todoroki for killing a 12 apostle in one hit, just like his master. Shocked, Todoroki turns to see Shikami somehow alive. Before he can react, Eva, now wearing Shikami's form, cuts him in half. With a cruel grin, Eva activates the Necromancer Dance artifact. She uses the Necromancer Dance to turn Todoroki into her corpse slave. Now controlled by Eva, Todoroki agrees to serve and starts to call her a corpse slave under her control. Now puppet, Todoroki agrees to serve her. He calls her Eva, but she slaps him hard enough to nearly knock him flat. She corrects him, saying to call her Shikami so nobody will suspect her disguise. Todoroki obeys, and the two of them break into a twisted laugh. Meanwhile, Kanagi and Azure investigate the crime scene. He uses his theatrical skill. Detective Azure rewinds the scene and watches what happened. This skill lets him replay events at a crime scene to find the truth for himself, that there are rules. Azure has to hold the evidence and solve the case with his own logic. Not just stare at clues, it even predicts future crimes. But there is a catch. If he ever gets a case wrong, the skill is gone forever. As Azure explains this, the founders are disgusted by Eva's dirty power, stealing bodies from those she killed. The room goes silent as everyone looks at Kanagi. He is overflowing with mana and barely holding back his intense rage. He swears he will never forgive the apostle. Back in the present, still furious, our hero rushes Eva with a flash. He throws a reflection punch boosted by his penetration spell. He drives it home. He hits Eva with a flash reflection punch boosted by his penetration spell. He follows with Luminance Fist, and when it lands on her face, a massive blast explodes. The hit sends her flying. She tries to recover, but the force makes her slide back as she fights to stay on her feet. Once the dust clears, Kanagi is shocked to hear her laughing. She calls him cruel, mocking him for hitting her without mercy even though she is using Shikami's body. He already knows his current strength is not enough to beat Eva. Still shaken from the impact, Eva says it was nothing. She sneers that his attacks feel like child's play. As the recoil wears off, she yells that moves like that will never hurt her. She mocks him again, but Kanagi agrees. He tells her he was never supposed to be the one who actually beats her in the end. He was only stalling so the mage founder could take over. As the founder takes control, she says she handled the rest, and his body erupts with energy. Seeing this, Eva realizes he might be the one the satellites warned her about, the person who would change completely. But instead of getting scared, she gets even more thrilled. With a wicked grin, she calls down hundreds of mummies from the sky. She says life is only fun when death is on the line, so they should fight with everything they have. Watching them fall, Azure says they look like empty puppets' bodies Eva stole and now controls. Eva laughs, bragging that every mummy is as strong as Shikami. She dares them to come at her. Habaki looks around and realizes there are about 100 of them, all at Shikami's level. A nearby candidate is stunned. From inside his own mind, Kanagi is disgusted that Eva is using the bodies of the people she crushed. The mage beside him says he has changed, and so have the founders. Eva is using the bodies of her victims, but the mage notes that everyone has changed. As the mummies dive toward the ground, things get intense. Using his body, the mage says Eva just made a huge mistake. As the mummies dive toward the ground, the mage says Eva made a huge mistake. She fires off a storm of electric blasts. The blasts sat every mummy out of the area and stun Eva. The mage takes it as an insult. Eva dropped her minions right in front, forcing her to strike before they could land. Burning mummies fall from the sky. Eva stares in confusion, wondering what Kanagi just did. Some people train for years to gain perfect aim, but the protagonist used the skill like it was nothing, hitting every single target without missing once. The mage tells him to stay by her side and watch carefully. He's amazed that even in a weak body, she can still use all her spells so smoothly. Calling him closer, she explains that Kanagi only chased power for himself, while the founders wanted to use their power. He doesn't get what she means. The founders used power through him, but he was drunk on his own strength and only thought about getting stronger. She goes on with her lecture. At the same time, the founders are just as intoxicated by his unmatched talent. But after losing a friend who trusted him with the future, everything changed for him. They loved his talent, but after losing a friend who trusted him with the future, the mage says Kanagi is now furious from the bottom of his heart. Pointing at the founders, the mage says Kanagi is furious. Pointing at the excited founders, she tells Eva that they all like this new version. Eva is thrown off by that. She rushes in, shouting that the world is simple. The strong crush the weak, but just before she lands, just as she is about to strike, a flash of lightning explodes right in front of her. She wants to crush the weak, but that sudden blast of lightning stops her dead in her tracks. Eva looks up, horrified, seeing literal thunder raining down from the sky above. The mage explains that plenty of people share Eva's cold worldview, but the mage also saw a being powerful enough to wreck the tower get treated like a toby for being eaten by beasts from another world entirely. After witnessing her whole squad fall in battle, she now protects the weak and promises to avenge them. Walking toward the bodies of Eva and Kanagi, the mage mocks her, calling her pathetic for being too weak to fight. Eva cannot even stand as thunder keeps slamming into her. The mage knows that even during his mountain training, the protagonist acted happy, but deep down, he was hunting for revenge. The founders feel it, too. They believe Kanagi will eventually reach their level of power, and the founders feel the same. They believe Kanagi will someday reach the same height they did. She holds out a hand and says, if he ever needs help, they will give it, and if something brings him pain, he only holds out a hand and says, if he ever needs help, they will give it. If something causes him pain, he just has to point at it, they will end the prophecy. He immediately points at Eva midair as bolts of lightning start ripping her body apart. Everyone is stunned, even the instructor finally gets it. Kanagi is just like Midori was a total monster in the making. Lying there in pieces, Eva cannot understand how this kid destroyed her whole army and tore her body apart. Like that, he walks over, asking if she finally respects their power, then mentions he has a lot to ask her. He mentions he knows experts at making people talk and he plans to get the truth about everything. But through grit teeth, Eva growls that she cannot win like this, admitting her boss was totally right. Suddenly, a coffin emerges from the ground. Eva calls it her secret weapon. She realizes her boss was right after all. As that coffin rises, Eva calls it her trump card, and the protagonist is stunned. Eva explains that centuries ago, a founder known as the 10,000-man army slasher destroyed the tower to finally end things. To the main character's horror, she reveals the corpse of Hinoki Reihiru inside the coffin. All the founders, especially Hinoki's spirit, are shocked to see his stolen remains. Without a word, the mage drops a massive thunderbolt on that coffin. Hinoki is rattled, but the mage says things are serious now because Eva has claimed his body. Then Hinoki's corpse stands up, sword in hand. Fueled by her new power, Eva says she can finally face them as an equal. Kanagi feels the overwhelming pressure in the air. It is even heavier than what he felt training with Ichika. Then Eva snaps her fingers, and hundreds of new minions crawl from the ground. Her second wave of reinforcements. Ichika and the group watch as Eva summons a second wave, making Kanagi really worrying. But the mage tells him it is nothing. As Eva keeps summoning more monsters, a sudden explosion goes off behind her. She turns to see his friends arriving. Ichika, Suo, and the rest are ready. The protagonist is not alone. Eva is pissed because she thought he was isolated, but as she hears him talk, Kanagi notices that the corpse sounds exactly like Kanagi himself. Even with their friends there, the group still struggles to take all the minions down. Eva just smirks and says that these ones are far more powerful than the last bunch she threw at them. These ones are tougher, much more heart. Eva mocks them as the mobs fall. She says this group is way stronger with hardening skills, so even a direct hit won't leave a single scuff. Worse, every minion has a unique ability, making this army almost impossible to handle with many at once. The anti-prophecy group is getting totally overwhelmed. After watching closely, Hibiki finally triggers her sound visualization. She's not about to let her team get crushed like this. Release skill. She unleashes the sound phoenix, incinerating an entire swarm in one go, but she stays on guard. Each of these things is buffed by his own special unique ability, and just as the battlefield turns into chaos, Todoroki suddenly snaps free. He grabs a younger member and slams them into the dirt. Todoroki breaks his chains and slams a member down. Hibiki moves fast enough to save them just in time and keep them safe. Eva is loving the chaos. She laughs, saying that in this fight, only squad captains can hope to survive. Tanjiro looks to the founders for answers, but they all stay silent. Captains only. Tanjiro looks to the other founders for an answer, but nobody speaks. He turns to the mage and asks for control of his body back just for a moment. She's stunned but consents. Once he takes the lead, he faces Eva. He says her mistake was underestimating his friends. Elsewhere, Hanada gets boxed in, but he remembers lesson 7 from Kanagi. Using his fist technique, he summons a dragon to power and shape his strikes. He rips through the monsters rushing him with a series of explosive kicks. The founder spirit towered his attacks. He tore through every minion with explosive kicks. Earlier, The founder spirit, when Talk noticed that Hanada's body was incredibly strong and flexible, the kid loved fast movement and focus. Strikes, another founder argued his style was solid, but it could be much better with their help. Now, Hanada is putting all that training together, moving like a snake and crushing minions from every angle with clean, sharp blows. Meanwhile, Akane braces herself for the massive swarm, charging her. She remembers Kanagi's advice about turning something flawed into something perfect. She used to craft only weak weapons, but she's gone way beyond ... That, she formed stone golems straight from the ground. That was lesson 8. Now, she can smash through even the hardened minions. Kanagi asks Hinoki about Suo. Hinoki says he is doing just fine. He might not be as naturally gifted as his brother, but he definitely has unique talents of his own. Right now, he's holding his own He's currently using Hinoki's one-handed sword style. He isn't quite as gifted as his brother, but he has talent and style with Skyfall, cutting down a whole pack of minions in one swing. Then, he mixes it with Calendula, making a flower-shaped slash that hits a massive area. She watches with pride, impressed by how smoothly her student is mixing techniques. Even so, she thinks Kanagi's combos are still on a whole different level. While thinking that over, she suddenly notices a huge fire tornado ... right in front of her that can only mean his intense showdown with the 12 apostles has already kicked off. Things are getting serious. Started. But when she looks closer, her shock grows. Kanagi is fighting the legendary founder. Hinoki Eva charges the hero with a one-handed sword style and the wave-cutting blade technique that the MC dodges with insane precision. Even though she misses, her attack still completely shreds the ground. He counterattacks immediately using the powerful mage spell, Mage's Thunderbolt, but a fighter as tough as Eva barely feels it. She strikes back with Dice Slash. It slices the entire battlefield into tiny cubes and even cuts through her own loyal minions as she goes into a total rage. Kanagi survives by leaping onto one of those floating blocks. He remembers he once survived this exact move by tanking it with his own body. It was a brutal test of strength and will. As the field shatters into shifting cubes, the others struggle to keep their footing. One person grabs another who is falling, but before they can pull her back up, Dice Slash cuts right through them. The attack is just too fast for anyone to react in time on this battlefield. It severs his arm and she falls, still holding that detached limb as she drops. Kanagi sees them just in time. He quickly casts a bubble spell to lift everyone to safety. The worried mage spirit asks Hinoki what their next move should be. Hinoki tells her to decide. Then Eva fires her splitting cloud beam, a massive beam attack that she has finally unleashed, causing even more chaos on the field. Eva is totally hyped about what this founder's body can do. She is amazed Hinoki is perfectly built for total combat. Still, she decides she needs something way stronger. She activates Hinoki's secret art, Indomitable, and prepares to strike, but Kanagi shocks her by grabbing the blade with his bare hand. Hinoki's spirit is not impressed. The mage mocks Eva, saying even in Hinoki's body, she is still weak. Hearing that, Eva snaps. She demands how a founder could be called weak, wanting more power. She digs through Hinoki's memories for a stronger move, but as she goes deeper into the past, her eyes fill with tears. Like she stumbled upon something absolutely horrible and dark. Those tears come from a flood of Hinoki's past, back when he was alive in the Age of the Towers. Just seeing it nearly drives Eva completely insane. In that memory, Hinoki cuts a whole tower in half with one swing, but after massive battles like that, Hinoki only grew colder and more distant. He was no longer the person he used to be before the war. Distant. Eva can understand how a human reaches that level of skill. His memories are packed with destruction and bodies being cut apart. Monsters fall by the dozens, even the seas split open, leaving deep wounds carved into the very planet. The massive weight of those memories crushes Eva. Her spirit starts completely falling apart. She panics, wondering how to get stronger, but it is too much. Her soul cracks like it is about to break. For good. Hinoki's spirit shrugs and says Eva's soul can break if it wants. Another founder warns that she will go berserk and attack everything nearby. If that happens, then Eva's own spirit. shatters, a terrifying, terrible scream bursts out of her, sounding like a soul being ripped apart. It is so loud that people can feel it all the way in Takasaki. The shock makes officials order an evacuation right away. People check their phones and learn the aura is coming from Nagano, nearly 100 kilometers away. Even from that distance, the shock waves still hit them, and panic spreads across the city. Some think the world is ending, while others are sure a terrifying monster has finally been unleashed to destroy everything in its path. Eva peered back on the battlefield. She keeps screaming as rocks float, and her aura slams down on everyone. The weaker fighters cough and collapse, crushed under the sheer pressure. Seeing that, Kanagi calls out to Hinoki. Everyone there is collapsing from the pressure. Kanagi shouts for Hinoki, but he stays relaxed. He says he has already left this entire mess to the mage. The mage agrees while Eva stalks toward them. The mage calmly lifts her sleeve, showing the seal of truth on her arm. She says if she uses Kanagi's body, she will end this battle in a single hit. Once she releases the seal, the protagonist's body starts pouring out massive energy. Akane can hardly believe what she is seeing. Akane is stunned. The alchemist spirit inside him tells them both to watch closely. Whether it is magic or alchemy, they both chase the truth, and right now, he is about to reach a piece of it. As he speaks, matching seals spread across Kanagi's arms, looking exactly like the ones the mage used to have. The alchemist spirit wonders if Kanagi's body can handle these fragments of truth, or if it will just break under the strain. Eva's soul is in pieces by now. Only the broken leftovers of it are still moving her body. Her body keeps moving on pure instinct, just like a wild beast. Hinoki says he abandoned his body to this state a long time ago, moving on instinct like a beast. Hinoki explains he left his body in this state long ago. He calls this state being ignorant of the truth. As Eva's rage rises, dark energy explodes from her and warps the air all around her. Seeing that, the mage glimpses a future where the power grows so massive it kills, including everyone there. It hits Kanagi and even spreads across the continent. In that moment, Eva could become the end of the world. The protagonist understands the danger as soon as he sees that vision. The mage then uses Magus of Truth, a skill meant to shut down abilities. Its power is so great the world can barely handle it. Eva packs her arm with dark energy. The skill is so strong the world can barely handle it. Eva packs energy into her arm and swings at Kanagi, but he stops it. Stop cold. To her disbelief, he grabs her hand and holds on tight. He stops her cold, grabbing her hand tight. In that instant, the mage fires a blazing light through him. A burst of light erupts between them. When it finally fades, Eva is just a burned skeleton, and he is still holding her hand. Using the protagonist's body, the mage gives Eva's soul one last goodbye as her ashes blow away. As they blow away, the other founders watch with resolve. Hinoki stands up, annoyed his body and soul are now separate. The mage smiles and asks Kanagi if what he saw will help his training. As the protagonist takes his body back, he is stunned. The field is clear, and his teammates are cheering for him. Annika worries, though, he never used his sword, so maybe her lessons meant nothing at all. Inoda lets out a sigh of relief. Suo praises him for taking down such a strong enemy in one attack, but Akane sees more than that. She realizes Kanagi fully read his opponent's skills and shut them all down completely. That thought makes Akane's hands shake. Can a human really reach that level of power? Even so, she steels herself and decides she will get there too. Can a human really reach that level? She decides she will get there too. Meanwhile, the instructor is stressing over the massive hole in the field. This was supposed to be an exam, but things spiraled out of control. Todoroki is dead too, which just makes the instructor more irritated. Now, another test will have to be held. As everyone starts regrouping, someone spots a bright circle and begins to panic. The instructor freezes too. As everyone regroups, someone spots a bright circle. The instructor freezes, but then everyone realizes it is the superintendent arriving. When Kanagi sees her, he remembers the old woman from inside his own consciousness earlier. The assistant beside the superintendent also seems confused about why this is happening. She arrives, and then the superintendent suddenly kneels before our hero, saying she has waited for his return. She claims she has been waiting hundreds of years for the original founders, And now they are finally standing right here. Sue and the others look over to Ichika for an explanation, but she says they should have known, even if this is their first time actually seeing her. Ichika explains the old woman is a founder of the anti-prophecy and Japan's top authority. Sue snaps that they already know that, but the real question is why she's kneeling to Kanagi. Ichika admits she has no idea. MC is just as lost, wondering why the old woman he met earlier is bowing to him. The founders inside him also try to remember what's happening, but none of them can figure it out. Then he suddenly feels her massive aura and goes, try to remember what is going on, but none of them can figure it out. Then he feels her massive aura and freezes. The old woman stands and asks if Kanagi remembers her, joking that she has gotten old. To prove it, she turns around and starts shaking her back, calling for Hinoki to watch her waist. Prove it, she turns around and shakes her back, calling for Hinoki to watch her waist dance. The founders are totally confused, but then it hits them. The old woman is EO. Hinoki quickly tells Kanagi to swap. Once he does, Hinoki greets her, which stuns everyone. The assistants step forward, taking his tone as a massive insult to their superintendent. Furious, they say they will kill the protagonist and restart taking it as an insult to their boss. Furious, they say they will kill him and restart the exam, but still dancing with Hinoki, tells them to back off because everything is fine. Hinoki rubs Ao's head and jokes that she's really turned into a granny. Hearing him talk like that, Ao remembers he spoke the same way long ago when she was with them. After a while, everyone starts fixing the training grounds and getting themselves together. Later, deep inside the anti-prophecy, a hidden place called the Hut of Everlasting Vision, Kanagi is amazed by the garden. Io explains that since she cannot show herself often, a barrier hides the area so she can live there in peace. MC asks if she knows all the founders, and Io starts telling her, so she can live there in peace. MC asks if she knows the founders, and Io tells her story of being an orphan whose family died during the Tower era and the founders saved and raised her. Kanagi is shocked she was a child then. When Io says it was 300 years ago, he's stunned to learn she is over 300 years old. She reveals she stays young by using an artifact that stops time as long as she remains inside headquarters. The moment artifacts come up, he remembers them. Hinoki's spirit explains to Valentine that the artifact works a lot like her preservation skill. Valentine agrees and says that at her peak, she could have done the same thing. Still, she wonders where Ao got something that's strong. Ao explains the anti-prophecy has a secret division that collects artifacts and almost no one knows it exists. Recently, their storage was attacked and many artifacts were stolen. Because of that, a special team was made to recover them, and Midori is part of it. The detective founder suspects the 10 apostles were behind the raid, which would explain their strength in the modern age. The protagonist is amazed by how fast the detective figured that out from so little. The detective then says that when Neva mentioned her boss was the one giving her artifacts, he checked her memories, and Eva mentioned her boss was giving her artifacts. He checked her memories and confirmed it. Another founder notes that instead of finding 12 elite warriors, it's easier to boost average ones with artifacts. Inoki agrees, saying the 2 enemies they fought before weren't as strong as Makoto. Inoki agrees too, adding that they did not even know the 12 apostles existed until the raid happened. She says the apostles now hold the same power as the anti-prophecy's greatest enemy, so they cannot be ignored. They are doing everything they can to find him. He's the anti-prophecy's greatest enemy, so he cannot be ignored. They are doing everything to find the leader, but Midori might reach them first. That shocking revelation hits hard. Meanwhile in Detroit, Michigan, Kanagi sees empty streets and one area looking like a war zone. A violent spell suddenly forms a tornado and slams it into the ground. Midori stands at the center, having just learned something massive. They thought the 12 apostles only had 12 members, but there is a 13th. Watching through an orb, a man lounging on a couch smirks, impressed that Midori arrives sooner than expected. In a cold, playful voice, he asks whether Midori wants coffee or some black tea. Midori answers instantly, choosing death and calling the man by his true name. Number 0. Midori fires another turbulence beam at the floating number 0. The blast is so massive that even number 0. Midori fires another turbulence beam at the floating number 0. The blast is so huge that even far away, another task force member, Nishina, notices it. Makoto, who is with him, says the city was already evacuated so the damage should be fine. But he cannot figure out why Midori is going this far. They barely get out in time. Jumping off the building just before it is sliced clean in half and starts to break apart. Leaping off the building just before it is sliced clean in half and breaks apart. They decide to leave number 0. 0 to Midori and go deal with Kamaragi, one of the 12 apostles. Meanwhile, Midori gets frustrated because even his strongest wind attacks cannot pierce the bubble around number 0. He wonders if it is a skill or an artifact. Those wind attacks cannot break the bubble around number 0. He wonders if it is a skill or an artifact. After finishing his tea, number 0 steps out of the bubble, taunting Midori and asking if he is done yet. Midori instantly fires back with a wall of cutting pearls, hurling huge rocks at number 0 and setting off a blast. Midori instantly fires back with a wall of cutting pearls, throwing huge rocks at number 0 and setting off a massive blast. But shockingly, number 0 walks out without a scratch. Right in front of Midori, he casually says the gap between them is like a whale and a tiny fish. Midori quickly realizes number 0 can defend himself even without that bubble. Looking right at him, number 0 keeps mocking him. He says that normally Midori would be so strong and scary, he would not even want to face him. But now Midori is crushed by the loss of his friend to number 0. That makes him. But now Midori is broken over his friend to number 0. That makes him pathetic. He says Midori was born as a monster built for battle, yet even then, he still could not protect the people he cared about. That pushes Midori into a deep rage. Furious, he charges at number 0 with terrifying force. His eyes fill with pure killing intent as old memories rush back. Memories from 23 years ago. Back then, deep in the mountains, task force member Shinonam stood there frozen in shock. A huge energy burst rose from a crater, and he realized the Midori family mansion was gone. Superintendent Al is there too, looking over what remains of the destroyed place. At the center, something is giving off incredible power. When Al gets closer, she sees a baby. The aura is so overwhelming they think the disaster happened because this child was born. Without any hesitation, Al was born. Without hesitating, Al runs to the baby and takes cuts all over her body from the pressure of its intense energy. Even so, she keeps going until she reaches the child, picks it up, and softly calms it down. She tells the baby everything is okay. Now, feeling Neil's warmth, the baby slowly stops. She stops crying as the wild winds finally die down. The storm fades, leaving Ichu bruised and bloody. Clutching the child, she vows the anti-prophecy will change. They will raise him. The baby is Midori. 9 years pass. Midori is a young boy ready to leave the lab. Training facility. A teacher. Named Hinoki and 12-year-old. ICHIKA try stopping him. They warn that if he leaves, the anti-prophecy will hunt him down. Midori shrugs it off, but as the master turns away, he whispers something. That is exactly why he let Midori live. The master knows the anti-prophecy will come for him anyway, and Midori simply does not care about the danger. Ichigo stands nearby, feeling the tension. Then, he suddenly starts laughing. Annoyed, the master asks what is so funny. Midori was always terrifyingly strong, breaking every record while seeing everyone else as weak. One day, he meets Makoto, who tosses him a wooden stick. He asks if Midori wants to be his sword training partner. Sword training partner. Makoto hands him a wooden stick, asking to spar. Midori is stunned, but Makoto just smiles and offers his sword back. Since they were the same age, the training begins. They train together, but Midori cannot beat Makoto with a sword. He is frustrated but keeps begging for one more match. Makoto agrees, wanting him to learn. But Midori keeps losing. He loses again. Furious, he screams, asking why he cannot win despite giving it his absolute all. Nishinoe is there too. He suggests the real problem is that Midori is too strong. Midori cannot wrap his head around that since he lost to Makoto. A voice outside calls it a compliment. It is 14-year-old Makoto. Midori keeps snapping his wooden swords. Nishinoya uses an egg to explain. If you use too much power, it is nearly impossible not to crush something as fragile as an eggshell. Midori still does not get it, so Makoto steps in. It is hard not to crush a shell in a fight, but Makoto throws the egg with full force anyway. Midori is shocked when it hits the ground without cracking. The egg is fine. Ticking it up ... Makoto explains the balance. Midori must match his attacking aura with a protective one for the shell. It is a subtle skill learned only over long periods of time. Suddenly, Nishina hurls the rest of the eggs at the wall. Not a single one. Breaks. Midori is floored. Makoto hands him an egg, saying if he wants to win at swords, he has to master his aura control first. Once he does, his massive power will not hurt innocent people. Mastering his aura ensures his strength won't harm those around him. As Makoto turns to leave, Midori calls out, only to get smacked in the face. With an egg. Makoto realizes Midori wants to stay and ... practice together. Midori wants him to stick around and train his aura control. Makoto throws it back, telling Midori to apologize first. Midori wants to train together, so Makoto demands an apology. Then, he uses his power to make an entire crate of eggs float in the air. It is a stunning display. Midori tries to copy the move, but the eggs around him just explode. They shatter instantly. Still, ... After practicing for a while, he finally punches a hole in the wall using only an egg. The shell stays intact. Now, they return to ... sword training. Now that Midori has control, they can spar all day without destroying the entire area. Seeing them, Nishinoya and Makoto get hyped and ask for a match next. 4 years later, Midori joins the Special Task Force. Meanwhile, Makoto chooses to follow his own path. Midori heads out on a mission to assist the European branch after hearing about a special rank, prophecy known as Pan. To find his own path, Midori heads to Europe on a high-rank prophecy mission called Pandemonium. He asks Makoto if he is still hunting for a sword master, and Makoto says yes, reminding Midori that he once swore he would find his own master. Makoto holds out a fist, telling him that they stand as equals. Once promised to find his own master, Makoto offers a fist bump, calling them equals. Smiling, Midori taps back and tells him that he will be waiting. From then on, Midori lives for his friends. As long as they are around, he is fighting. Friendship was all he wanted, but the 12 apostles took that from him. Back in the present, fueled by those memories, Midori suddenly rushes number 0 with pure killing intent. The man stays totally calm, but just before Midori lands the blow, number 0 pulls out a golden egg and crushes it in. But just before Midori strikes, number 0 crushes a golden egg right in front of him. It triggers a Berserk Life Stampede spell, blinding the area with light. The other Special Task Force members see it and wonder if Midori caused it. As the glow finally fades, Midori steps out, covered in a strange, heavy aura. Makoto asks if he already finished off number 0, but Midori says nothing. They call out to him, but, to their horror, Midori says he has no idea who they are. Nishinoya instantly realizes something is very wrong and screams for Makoto to get back, but it is too late. Midori already has a hand on Makoto's and screams for him to retreat. Too late. Midori grips Makoto's forehead with a twisted smile, using turbulence to summon a violent whirlwind. After 3 members of the Japanese Special Task Force vanish, another team from the American branch, including Marquise and Ashton, is sent to investigate. When they arrive, Ashton touches the ground and feels a massive amount of lingering energy, proving this was the ground zero of a massive explosion. Marquise is stunned by the crater Midori left behind, seeing why he is called the strongest man in the world. Still, he cannot understand how someone that powerful vanished with his whole team. Ashton has no answer either. News of Midori's disappearance hits the Japanese branch, throwing everything into chaos at the everlasting Vision Hut. The assistant superintendent is visibly shaken and can hardly believe it. Io, just as worried, asks if they really have no clue where Midori is. She asks Midori's assistant, Rin, but Rin does not know either, because the artifact linking her to Midori was destroyed. Ayo says the entire thing is Rin. Rin does not know either, as the artifact linking her to Midori was destroyed. Ayo calls it awful. While they talk, Kanagi arrives, now officially serving as a squad captain and wearing the captain's cape. He is a little embarrassed by the new title, but the assistant superintendent explains that every squad captain recommended him unanimously, since Kanagi even fought Eva. Everyone believes he is the only one who can fill the whole Makoto left behind. Kneeling, the protagonist remembers his promise to surpass the founders quickly and stop more people from dying. He thanks them for their trust, promising to do everything possible to live up to the anti-prophecy group's hopes. That gets Ayo excited, and she says she always knew he was the right pick for captain. Then her face turns serious, and she asks what he thinks about an urgent issue. Not long ago, Kanagi was still tracking down anti-prophecy members to recruit into his squad. Now he is sitting before the superintendent for advice, and the whole thing feels unreal. As the superintendent speaks, a door with a tiger drawing suddenly appears behind Ayo. He is startled, and when a door with a tiger drawing suddenly appears behind Ayo, he is startled. When it opens, Ayo introduces to Special Task Force. Nishina and Makoto are both seriously hurt. She explains they were on Midori's squad and are the only witnesses left. Makoto starts explaining the situation. They were Midori's teammates and the only survivors. Makoto explains that back in Detroit, the leader of the 12 apostles took control of Midori's body. That news leaves Kanagi stunned. Makoto says the mind control is just like Hiva used. He thinks an artifact is to blame, but the details aren't really the priority right now. The real problem is that Midori, the hero who protected everyone, has now become humanity's greatest enemy. That harsh truth hits our protagonist hard. Makoto adds that Midori fought back as long as possible so the others could escape. Before he lost himself, he apologized and made one final request. Midori's last wish was for Kanagi to defeat number 0 in his place. That leaves the MC frozen, crushed by the heavy weight of those words. The assistant superintendent puts a steadying hand. He places a hand on his shoulder and says he expects big things. But first, Kanagi still needs a full 7-member squad. Right now, he only has Haneda, Akane, and Suo on the team. So his first task is finding 3 more members, and doing it fast. Kanagi rushes off to recruit. He spots a young kid from the Hibiki squad and begs him to join. Debo freaks out and bolts, screaming that he will never leave his current team. Just when the kid thinks he's safe, Akane blocks his path. She shows him a transfer letter signed by Hibiki himself. Debo can't believe it. He sees it's the real deal and reluctantly agrees to join the protagonist's new squad. That gives Kanagi and Akane their 4th member. Meanwhile, Haneda heads out to try and recruit Akihina. His method is pretty strange. He starts doing this over-the-top leg-stomping motion as an invitation. Akihina just stares at him like he is a total weirdo. Haneda says it's an order and he wants Akihina on the team. Akihina refuses, saying he's aiming for the next captain's exam instead. A captain's spot opened up after Todoroki died. Haneda doesn't back down. He throws a powerful kick to test him, but Akihina dodges easily. This strange evasive skill only makes Haneda more interested. Now curious, Akihina offers a deal. If Haneda can touch him just once within 60 seconds in the courtyard, then he will join the team. Then he will officially join the new squad. Haneda asks if anything goes, and when Akihina says yes, he wraps himself in a glowing dragon, ready to win. Akihina starts the countdown timer on his laptop. Earlier, inside a cave used by the anti-prophecy unit, Akihina met Captain Sorakai. He was fishing in a 17th-dimensional crack called the Underjaw. Sorakai mentioned that he sometimes catches massive fish there. After noticing Akihina, he asked if he was taking the replacement exam for Todoroki's squad. Akihina said yes, wanting to be a captain who actually survives. Sorakai told him he could reach that goal without even becoming a captain. Akihina is stunned and asks if that means he isn't fit. As the captain reels in a monster shark, he says that Akihina is missing something. Back in the present, Haneda charges and while Akihina keeps avoiding him. No matter how fast he moves, he just can't land a single hit on him. Akihina keeps avoiding contact even when Haneda gets close. He's right on him, but still can't land a touch. Haneda quickly realizes Akihina is using some kind of dodging ability. He realizes it is called Amigos, a special skill Akihina has hidden for a long time. It lets him teleport to any marked spot with incredible speed. Amigos lets him teleport to any marked spot within 100 meters. He has to visit the spot first, but then he can jump there instantly. No matter how many attacks Haneda throws, Akihina slips past every single one of them. It's a tough matchup, but Haneda is focused. Haneda treats this like training because he knows he'll have to face Midori one day. While blinking around the courtyard, Akihina asks what Haneda sees. Haneda keeps the pressure on while Kanagi attacks. He says he has no special moves, fires another kick, and admits he gets Akihina's idea of a good captain, someone who raises the squad's chance of survival even by 1%. Haneda says that sounds noble, but he wouldn't trust a leader who puts survival above everything. That irritates Akihina, but Haneda explains that people who only think about saving themselves never reach their goal. As he says that, he remembers his childhood, the day he found his family dead because of a prophecy. That moment made him swear to crush every prophecy. In Kanagi, he saw someone who could actually do it, and that's why he chose to follow him. Hearing that, Akihina finally understands what he's missing as a captain, being someone others can rely on. He goes back to dodging. Sure, he's about to win. He plans to remember this talk later. But with only 5 seconds left, Haneda starts texting and says the timing is perfect. Akihina is confused, and then Suo suddenly appears, using his calendula together with Skyfall to strike from above. The attack blows apart the entire courtyard that destroys Akihina's teleport points, and Haneda moves in. The entire courtyard is wrecked. Akihina's teleport points are gone. Haneda strikes. He jumps off the building and uses a flash kick to rip a piece of Akihina's clothes. The timer hits 0, but that still counts as a touch, so Haneda wins. After landing, Suo asks if wrecking the whole courtyard was really worth it. Haneda just shrugs and thanks him for the assist. In the back, Akihina is furious, but after typing something in on his laptop, he settles down and agrees to join Kanagi's squad. Haneda and Suo celebrate the win with a high five. Around the same time, the protagonist brings in another recruit. Haneda and Suo celebrate with a high five. Rin arrives bound in chains. He's stunned by the ruined courtyard, but Suo says he's counting on him to write the apology. Haneda tries to smooth things over and says Rin can probably fix it. Still, they have one problem left. They need one more member. Akane has no ideas. Akane asks if Kanagi has any candidates. The protagonist points to the Special Task Force survivors. He points to the Special Task Force survivors. Each one of them. He points to the Special Task Force survivors Ichiko, Mikado, and Nishino. Then he says he's already brought them into his squad to fight. Elsewhere, he's already brought them into his squad. Meanwhile, at the Watchtower, the remaining 12 apostles gather for a meeting. Only 5 are left, but they're confident because they had the strongest weapon in the world. Midori's body. To them, that means they're one step from wiping out anti-prophecy. Number 0 reminds them of their creed. They'll do everything to bring prophecy into this world. In the research room, the assistant superintendent asks the director if he found what they needed. The director says yes. He explains that the Book of Doom, the 12 Apostles, and was actually one book split apart. Using the 8 books Midori recovered, they conclude the disaster matches a prophecy tied to a special rite called Bhagavad Gita. He says that it matches a prophecy called Bhagavad Gita. To destroy the world, the 12 apostles need Midori's power, and that power alone is enough. Out over the sea, Midori flies with Hajime toward an unknown destination. Midori suddenly asks if he's ever read the Gita, and Hajime says no. Midori explains it's a Hindu scripture that teaches people to carry out their duty with a selfless heart. He adds that whoever wrote the prophecy now unfolding must have hated humanity deeply. As they pass over Times Square, a family spots them. One child excitedly points out Midori as the world's strongest awakener. Soon the whole crowd catches on, cheering and asking for pictures. They notice Hajime too, calling him a samurai as the excitement keeps growing. Then Midori tells Hajime to begin. Right after that, he forms a ball of energy in his hand. The crowd keeps cheering, having no idea what's coming. Watching him arrive, a father even snaps a photo of his child with Midori. Behind them, Midori launches an energy ball that swallows the entire sky. It transforms into a massive, swirling tornado. The sky turns into a giant tornado, and from the center, the real Midori desperately screams for number 0 to stop him. She begs number 0 to stop, but it is too late. He already cast. Back at the anti-prophecy cafeteria, Kanagi is right in the middle. He is giving a lecture when Shua rushes over with his phone. It is breaking news. New York is burning after Midori's attack. A rogue awakener destroy everything. The city is being destroyed at every turn. At the everlasting hut, Superintendent Vice is screaming at Io. Midori just wiped out an entire city. I will try. Vice is furious. Io tries to calm him, but the damage is massive. Countless people died in New York, the center of the world. She explains that Midori did not act alone. The leader of the 12 apostles is controlling him. They have identified the man behind it as an Englishman named Warren Hastings. I suspect he is working with invaders from another dimension entirely. Another dimension. Io suspects he is working with interdimensional invaders. This shocks Vice, but Io keeps going with the report. The 12 apostles are using artifacts outside anti-prophecy control. To her, that means someone or something is backing them. The 12 apostles are using artifacts beyond their control, meaning someone powerful is backing them. Vice still blames Io because the man who erased a city was from her task force. He even warns that the White House is considering using nukes on Midori. But Vice knows nukes will not work on Midori. He asks Io what she plans to do. Back in the cafeteria, Kanagi asks Shua if he finished lesson 15 with the rest of the group. Shua says yes, but Kanagi shocks him by naming him vice captain of the squad. He tells him to keep everyone training until their deployment orders finally come in. Since Iru and Akina are always clashing, they need to focus on teamwork if they want to be flawless. Shua asks what Kanagi plans to do. Since they need to be flawless, Shua asks what Kanagi will do himself. The protagonist says he is going to sleep. He is going into a deep sleep this time. Absolutely no one is allowed to wake him. Since it is a direct order, Shua accepts it and chooses to trust him. Back at the everlasting hut, Io says she will confront Midori with their strongest elite squad. Back at headquarters, Kanagi reaches his room and falls asleep right away. In his dream, he draws his sword to train with Hinoki while the other founders watch. They wait to guide him, but Hinoki shocks Kanagi by instantly cutting him to pieces. In one quick flash, he regenerates, but Hinoki slices him apart again instantly. Hinoki shreds him. He regenerates, but gets sliced again. Hinoki reminds him that he was the one who asked for full power training. Now he has to deal with the consequences. He will be devoured. Hinoki rushes Kanagi at full speed. Another founder tries to step in, but the mage stops them immediately. Hinoki charges at full speed. Another founder tries to stop it, but the mage holds them back. They argue that this brutal training might work eventually, but the protagonist is dying far too often. If this keeps up, his very soul could break apart. They know Midori is the strongest awakener of this age, and Kanagi just cannot beat him yet. He cannot win like this. This training is cruel, but it is their only hope. Midori is the ultimate awakener, and Kanagi cannot beat him as he is. This training is brutal, but it is their only shot. A founder warns there must be a limit to his pain. Kanagi can take it. The alchemist tells her not to worry. He is not that fragile. Even after watching Kanagi get cut down repeatedly, the mage still believes he will make it. Kanagi apologizes to Hinoki. The pressure of just standing there is absolutely crushing. Standing in front of him feels like being dropped into a freezing mountain blizzard. After catching his breath, Kanagi faces him again. Back in that freezing mountain blizzard, Kanagi catches his breath and faces Hinoki again, only to get split in half. It happens instantly, but this time he actually manages to slice off one strand of hair. Before, he could not even get close. Now, he finally touched him. No matter how many times he dies, he just refuses to quit. He keeps getting back up. Meanwhile, in Mumbai at the gateway of India, an agent from the Indian Special Task Force lights up when he sees Midori. He reminds Midori that without his help, that special rank blazing fire boss would have burned Mumbai to ash. Then, with a grin, he asks if the man who once saved this city has now returned to destroy it. Midori says those words are pointless. This might be his body, but number 0 is in control now. He mocks the idea of Midori taking it back. To mess with Arata even more, He pulls out Midori's trap thoughts. He lets Midori's own voice out for a moment. Midori begs him to run, but Arata refuses. This is his hometown, and he will fight for it. Until the very end. He will fight for it until the end. Meanwhile, at the Everlasting Hut, Io explains to the assistants that humanity has been at war with interdimensional beings for 100 years. Back in the Founders' era, the tower appeared first, then the crack, then the prophecies. And through all that time, some humans have always sided with those beings to help them. They want to destroy the world. Suddenly, an assistant sees news that India has fallen and panics, realizing the enemy is heading for Europe. Io expected that, though she wished they had gone straight to Japan. When the assistant asks why, she explains the situation. She explains that number 0 only took Midori's body recently, so he cannot use its full power yet. On top of that, the more he fights, the stronger he gets. Since he keeps getting stronger, she orders the assistant to call in all the captains. She tells Tengen he is headed to the battlefield too. She tells Tengen he is going to the battlefield, and he jokes they only remember him when there is heavy work to do. The real surprise is Io say she will fight in person. Since the Kanagi squad is their only hope against Midori, the other squads have to stall for time. Until they are ready, Hibiki and the other captains ask how much time the protagonist actually needs. Io gives them an answer. The captains are tense as they ask for the timeline. Io looks at Kanagi, and he says he needs time. He needs 2 days. She names the battlefield, the Pacific Ocean, where they will try to stop him. The entire Japanese branch of anti-prophecy gathers there for the fight. As Midori charges, he immediately fires off a massive turbulence attack. Io blocks the violent blast with her own defensive spell. Midori narrows his eyes. He is surprised, and Io smirks, telling him not to look down on them. Earlier, as the captains headed out to face Midori, Hisagi and her squad ran up, begging to fight the leader of the 12 apostles. Their captain says no. Hisagi, nearly in tears, argues that even if they cannot change the outcome of this battle, they can still protect the captains with their very lives. She refuses to just sit back. The captain turns to them, asking if they understand why the captains chose to take on such a hopeless fight. Even knowing they might never return because the power gap is so huge, they believe their subordinates will survive and keep the fight going. That is why they entrust you with the world. After saying that, the captains leave. The squads are left behind, standing in silence. Some burst into tears, while others harden their resolve to protect the Kanagi squad until their training is finished. Their eyes are full of grief, but they know crying will not help. It is time to move fast. The captains, superintendents, and assistants teleport to the ocean to face Midori head-on. Io effortlessly steps in to stop Midori's turbulence. The other captains stare in shock at her power. Midori is also thrown off by this weird and unfamiliar, clear ability, digging through Midori's memories. Number 0 recognizes Io as the anti-prophecy superintendent. She's a mother figure to Midori, who always hid her true strength. Io tells him this is the first time in 100 years she's used her power. In battle, not one of the captains has ever seen her go all out. It is the first time she's used her power in battle. None of the captains have ever seen her go all out. But now she activates her Eight of Mirrors spell, which has 2 stages. The first lets Ito completely cancel any ability as long as she understands how it works, giving her a perfect and effective defense against it. It is a direct counter ability and it works perfectly with her sharp mind and analysis. Midori doesn't wait, he answers back with blazing turbulence, sending a storm of deadly tornadoes straight at Io. The captains realize this is the same move that burned India to the ground, but Io already knows it, so she knocks it away with ease. Her spell's second stage lets her copy any ability after reflecting it with the first stage. She immediately fires back with her own tornadoes, and they smash Midori's attack apart. Midori quickly figures out how her power works, but he gets irritated when he senses an attack coming from the side. Midori quickly figures out how her power works, but then gets irritated when he senses an attack coming from the side. One captain rushes in with infinite fist, hammering Midori with a non-stop barrage. Every hit makes Midori's body go numb, but even after all those punches, the captain is stunned to see him barely react. His body goes numb, but even after all those punches, the captain is stunned to see him barely react. Then the captain grabs Midori in midair and calls for the others to strike while he holds him down. Hibiki instantly releases her sound visualization skill, Phoenix. The other captains hit Midori with their strongest moves at the same time. This is her sound visualization skill, Phoenix. The other captains hit Midori with their strongest moves at the exact same time. But Midori answers with a wall of cutting pearl, blasting out massive tornadoes that slam the captains. When the smoke clears, he's untouched and mocks Io for bringing weak fighters. Then he suddenly feels a huge and heavy presence hovering above him. He looks up and sees the superintendent's assistant forming a giant, sun-like ball of energy. Midori instantly realizes that move gets stronger the longer it is charged, as he tries to make his own energy sphere. To counter it, the female assistant uses Slabmaker and locks his hands in place. Midori is shocked. He didn't expect them to have an warp awakener. Bound by the heavy shackles, he can't cast his spell. Midori is shocked. He didn't expect them to have an warp awakener. Bound by the shackles, he can't cast. At the same time, the male assistant finishes charging and throws the massive fireball at the trapped Midori. Watching it rush in, Midori knows he can't dodge. He finished charging and throws the massive fireball at the trapped Midori. Watching it rush in, Midori knows he can't dodge. He thinks his strongest wind attack at the last second might reduce the damage, but right then, he spots another identical fireball coming from the other side, created by Io through her